Chapter 678. Haha, spiritual maiden Guanqingqing, since you've come, why don't you stay and play? Wang Kai smiled as he turned around. The whip and candle were still in his hands. Swish. Guanqingqing, who had just stepped into the hall, was startled when she heard this. She looked at the large stone bed, as well as the whip and candle placed around it. For a moment she was extremely confused. However, looking at Wang Kai's strange and hateful appearance, she could guess that he was up to no good. Humph, I'm only here to scold you. As for you wanting me to stay, that's impossible. Guanqingqing sneered and immediately turned around to leave. She had originally thought that Wang Kai only called for Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi, but not her. This was Wang Kai's disdain for her. She believed that spiritual maidens were inferior to goddesses and saintesses. However, now that Guanqingqing had taken the initiative to visit, she did not see Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi. She only saw the ill-intentioned Wang Kai holding a candle and a whip. There was even a large bed in the hall. How could the clever Guanqingqing really stay? Swish. Rumble, however, before Guanqingqing could walk out of the hall, the door was firmly shut by Wang Kai with a wave of his hand. You, what do you want? This situation immediately caused Guanqingqing's delicate body to stiffen. She slowly turned around and looked at Wang Kai, who was approaching her with a leather whip and a candle. For a moment she could not help but dryly swallow a mouthful of saliva as her little heart thumped rapidly. What else can I do? Of course I want to play with you. Hehe, since you've taken the initiative to come to me, if Ben Shao doesn't do anything to you, wouldn't it be a waste of your courage? Wang Kai frowned as he said with a playful smile. Bah. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai waved his hand and swung the whip. Immediately, it slammed against the door beside Guanqingqing, emitting an ear-piercing sound. Plop! Guanqingqing, who was caught off guard, was so scared that she fell to the ground. She hugged her chest and said with a trembling voice, You can't do this to me. I am a spiritual lady. So what if she's a spiritual lady? Just now, Ben Shao had dealt with the divine lady and the saintess. Besides, Ben Shao is now the hierarch of the sky-reaching church. You probably don't know that, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a smile. Whoosh. Hearing this, Guanqingqing's delicate body trembled in fright. She pursed her lips tightly and waved her jade-like hand, using all her strength to slap the door. Bang! One! Rumble! However, his palm strike landed on empty air. The originally closed entrance to the palace hall was actually directly opened. As a result, Guanqingqing fell forward and rolled down the stairs. Get out of here! Ben Shao doesn't have time to play with you. Wang Kai waved his hand impatiently. He was just trying to scare Guanqingqing and had no intention of doing anything to her. Bastard! Guanqingqing, will not let you off. Just you wait. Guanqingqing's pretty face was filled with shame and anger. Looking at her cut palm, her eyes turned red. Wang Kai did not care about this at all. Looking at Guanqingqing, who was running away with her tail between her legs, he could not help but rub his nose and smile faintly. Now, the most important thing is to find Xia Xinyan and Yunshi. It's not Ben Shao's character to let go of the ducks that are already in his hands. Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, Wang Kai stepped into the air. His eyes narrowed slightly as he used his divine sense to spy on the entire sky-reaching church. At the same time, in front of the mountain gate of the sky-reaching church, Zhu Beiji was leading Gu Yuntong and other elders. They were looking at the Cloud Sea Mountain, the Flying Sword sect and the Tyrant Blade sect, who had come to attack the mountain. Sect Master Yuhuan, please be careful. This demonic pig's cultivation is very high. We are no match for him. Lu Feibai, the mountain master of the Cloud Sea Mountain, said in a deep voice. Previously, he had been severely injured by Zhu Beiji and was mercilessly thrown out of the sky-reaching church. If it were not for the elixirs, he would have died in the sky-reaching mountain. This time, He had brought the Flying Sword sect and the Tyrant Blade sect here to make the final bet. To destroy the sky-reaching church in one fell swoop. After receiving benefits from Liu Feibai, the Flying Sword sect and the Tyrant Blade sect would naturally be happy to destroy the sky-reaching church and obtain the cultivation resources of the sky-reaching church. 2400 place, Flying Sword sect, 2401 place, Tyrant's Blade School. What benefits did Liu Feibai give you? You actually did not hesitate to come to my sky-reaching church to make trouble? Gu Yuntong took a step forward and shouted in a rather unfriendly tone. Whoosh! Hearing this, Liu Feibai's face twitched. The benefits this time were more than half of the cultivation resources of the Cloud Sea Mountain. If they could not destroy the sky-reaching church, the Cloud Sea Mountain would be in a state of decline within 10 years, even if no one attacked. If Liu Feibai had not been severely humiliated, how could he have made such a decision? One should know that there were many forces eyeing the sky-reaching church covetously, but none of them could destroy the sky-reaching church. Not for any other reason, but because the other forces wanted to obtain benefits from the sky-reaching church. If the sky-reaching church was destroyed, how would the other forces distribute the resources? However, the Flying Sword sect and the Tyrant Blade sect were different. They were the overlords of the 6th region. All forces had to obey their orders. However, if one wanted to invite them, there would be many benefits. Cut the crap, Gu Yuntong. When the sky-reaching church first came to the 6th region, the Tyrant Blade sect guaranteed that your sect could take root in the 6th region because of Guzhan. But now, your sect dares to attack the Cloud Sea Mountain without permission. Aren't you a little too arrogant? Whoosh! A middle-aged man in a purple robe stepped out from the Tyrant Blade sect's side. His eyebrows were as sharp as knives, and his face was extremely handsome. Although he was middle-aged, he was as handsome as a youth. This man was the sect leader of the Tyrant Blade sect, Li Badeo. At the same time, the leader of the Flying Sword sect nodded and said with a smile, Sect leader Li is right. Now that Brother Guzhan has gone missing, the sky-reaching church should close their doors and settle down. How dare you attack the Cloud Sea Mountain of the 6th region? You're digging your own grave. Yu Huan. Li Badeo. Don't be so arrogant. Back then, you were afraid of my father's cultivation, so you took the initiative to please him and let the sky-reaching church take root in the 6th region. Now that my father is not in the sky-reaching church, you dare to cause trouble here? Aren't you afraid that my father will destroy the Flying Sword sect and the Tyrant Blade sect when he comes back? Gu Yuntong scolded sternly. Whoosh! Hearing this, Li Badeo and Yu Huan raised their eyebrows and immediately waved their hands to give the order to destroy the sky-reaching church. However, before they could say anything, Zhu Beiji stepped forward with the 9-toothed rake on his shoulder and snorted impatiently, You guys are too good at talking nonsense. If you want to fight, just do it. Men, back off. Women, stay. Your grandpa Zhu wants to release the energy that he has accumulated over the years. Ahem, mental pressure. Chapter 679. Be **starred. You're just a pig demon. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Do you want to be eaten alive? The sect leader of the Flying Sword faction scolded Zhu Beiji. He waved his hand and shot out waves of Dao Will towards Zhu Beiji. Seeing this, Zhu Beiji's eyes widened in anger. His expression turned furious. He flipped the 9-toothed rake over and threw it out. Buzz. Rumble. Bang. War. In an instant, the waves of Dao Will were scattered by the 9-toothed rake. Even the sect leader of the Flying Sword faction was sent flying into the sky while vomiting blood. He disappeared in the blink of an eye. No one knew where he had flown to. Humph, you're just a weakling. How dare you challenge Grandpa Zhu? Did you not eat today? Did you faint from hunger? Zhu Beiji snorted in disdain. Whoosh! Such a scene immediately shocked everyone. All of them widened their eyes and opened their mouths wide as they looked at Zhu Beiji in disbelief. They could not believe that a pig demon could send the sect leader of the Flying Sword faction flying with a single blow. Even now, no one knew exactly where Yu Huan had flown to. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Men, leave now. Women, stay here. Grandpa Zhu wants to spar with all of you. Zhu Beiji laughed arrogantly. What the F***ck? Why aren't you running? Whoosh. In an instant, all the male disciples ran away in a frenzy. Most of the women turned pale and wanted to run away. However, they realized that they could not move at all. There were also some female disciples who did not want to run away. Instead, they threw flirtatious glances at Zhu Beiji. For some women, no matter how high Zhu Beiji's cultivation was, they would not be able to tolerate his looks. However, there were some women who did not care about their looks. They only cared about Zhu Beiji's cultivation. However, no matter what kind of women they were, Zhu Beiji would accept them all. It could be said that he had his eyes on all the female disciples from the beginning. Don't go, you two. Grandpa Zhu hates cunning people like you the most. Stay here and serve Grandpa Zhu's P1. In an instant, with a flip of Zhu Beiji's hand, the Tyrant Blade Gate and the Mountain Master of the Cloud Sea Mountain, who had already fled, were captured. There was no resistance at all. At this moment, the Mountain Lord of Mount Cloud Sea, Lu Feibai, finally understood the truth. This pig demon was simply too terrifying. Even the leader of a force ranked 2,400 was no match for him. Who could be a match for him in an area of a few 100,000 kilometers? Grandpa Pig, please spare my life. I've come here to help the Transcending Heaven Church become the overlord of this region within the radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. Lu Feibai, the Lord of the Cloud Sea Mountain, cried out loudly. Whoosh! Hearing this, Zhu Beiji was filled with disdain. He raised his hand and gave Zhu Beiji a vicious slap. Then, he sneered, you should talk to them about this matter. Your Grandpa Zhu has no time to deal with you. After he finished speaking, Zhu Beiji flipped his hand and swept all of the female disciples from the three major powers into his sleeve. There were a total of 3,000 of them. Elder Zhu, wait. What about the leader of the Flying Sword sect? Gu Yuntong's mouth twitched as he braced himself and asked. The other elders of the Transcending Heaven Church were also speechless. Even if he liked beauties, he shouldn't have gathered so many of them at once, right? There were more than 3,000 of them. Could he even take it? Not many people can survive after being hit by Grandpa Zhu's rake. Zhu Beiji snorted disdainfully as he stepped into the air and disappeared in a hurry. Hearing this, Gu Yuntong and the others couldn't help but look at each other and secretly let out a sigh of relief. Take the two of them away. Tomorrow, when the young sect master ascends to the throne, we'll sacrifice them to the heavens. Gu Yuntong said indifferently. Yes, Gu sect. Elder Gu. Elder Lu Hua cupped his fists together and took Lu Feibai and Li Badeo, who were ashen-faced, back to the Transcending Heaven Church. Gu Yuntong and the others still couldn't react to the fact that they had defeated their enemies so easily. It was the truth, but they still couldn't accept it. It was as if they were in an illusion. We're still too weak. They're too strong. Gu Yuntong shook his head and sighed. Elder Gu, I think now is the best time to dominate the area. The Flying Sword sect, Yun Haishan, and Domineering Saber sect can be defeated one by one. That's right. Without their leaders, the overlords are no threat at all. Swoosh. Many elders narrowed their eyes and suggested one after another with cold glints in their eyes. In their opinion, the death of the leaders of the three forces was undoubtedly an opportunity to destroy the three forces. We can't do that. Let's listen to the young sect master. Gu Yuntong was a little moved, but after thinking for a while, he waved his hand helplessly and refused. Even if the three forces were destroyed, so what? The overall strength of the Transcending Heaven Church still couldn't be changed. Moreover, there were still many forces within the area of hundreds of thousands of miles. They weren't afraid of the transcending heaven church. Even if the tiger was driven away, the wolf would still be there. Everything depended on Wang Kai. After all, only he had the ability to dominate the area of hundreds of thousands of miles. Hearing this, the elders came to their senses and couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. No matter what, they needed a strong helper to complete the task of Overlord. The declining transcending body sect had no chance at all. At the same time, Wang Kai, who had arrived at the Holy Maiden Peak, stood in the air and looked down at the peak below. He couldn't help but touch his nose and laugh. These two little girls dare to escape without Bencheo's permission. It seems that their butts are itching for a fight. Boy, if no one helps them, their only way to escape is to rely on the Taoist Bone's divine thought. Although the Taoist Bone's divine thought can only be used once, it can last for 2 hours. Lord Cat reminded him in a serious tone. He was afraid that Wang Kai would get into trouble and be killed by the Taoist Bone's divine thought. Hearing this, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and shrugged his shoulders. He put his hands behind his back and said with a smile, "It's only 2 hours. Benchao has plenty of time to wait. This world belongs to Benchao. When to take beautiful things, it's up to Benchao to decide." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Master, the strong enemies have been defeated. 2 of the leaders of the 3 forces have been captured. The other one was killed by Zhu Beiji with his rake. Swoosh. Zhu Beiji, who was rushing over from afar, reported in a hurry and was about to turn around and leave. Seeing this, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed. He couldn't help but wave his hand and ask curiously, "Wait a minute. Why are you in such a hurry? Could it be that you have done something wrong?" Master, are you going to snatch it from Zhu Beiji?" Zhu Beiji's body stiffened. He turned around and looked at Wang Kai bitterly. Chapter 680. Snatch? Could it be that Zhu Beiji had gotten his hands on something good? Something that Zhu Beiji, who had such a high cultivation, was interested in must be something good. Even though Wang Kai was not interested in it, he was curious to know what it was. Thinking of this, Wang Kai clasped his hands behind his back and pretended to be enigmatic as he said, "Wuning, any good thing must be given to the master first. After the master has finished using it, the disciple will use it. Although the master has countless treasures, sometimes it is still very disappointing." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to rank 1 Heavenly Lord. Congratulations to host for successfully breaking through. Heavenly Force has reached the 5th level. Host, Wang Kai Profession, Heavenly Martial Artist Rank, Rank 1 Heavenly Lord Dao Technique, Heavenly Dao Mystique, Luck Deprivation Skill, Great Summoning Skill Equipment, Ever-Changing Fan Heavenly Power, Rank 5 Astral Origin Points, 0 Physique, Invulnerable Guardian Beast, None Bragging Points, 15800 Experience, 090000. When he heard the notification, Wang Kai's eyes slightly narrowed. He casually glanced at Zhu Beiji, who was currently hesitating. Then, he activated his mind and closed the window. After all that talk, you still want to snatch it. Zhu Beiji's heart was filled with disdain. His face twitched as he said, "Master, let's split it 50-50. That's fair and square, is that okay? Half each? What the F***ck? Could it be that Zhu Beiji had a lot of treasures that he wanted?" Wang Kai's interest was piqued. However, his expression remained calm. He shook his head and smiled. Wu Ning, as the saying goes, a teacher for a day is a father for life. The most respected thing in the world is the love of a father and a mother. Your master is so kind, yet you only give me half? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Swoosh. Hearing this, Zhu Beiji was so angry that he almost fainted. He did not expect Wang Kai to be so shameless. He had just become Zhu Beiji's disciple, and he did not even give him a greeting gift. Instead, he was asking for benefits from his disciple. However, Zhu Beiji still didn't know what was going on with Wang Kai and the others. Since he couldn't win or escape, he could only compromise. All right, I'll give them to you. I'll give it all to you. I hope you can take it, master. 1. All of a sudden, Zhu Beiji waved his sleeves and streaks of light shot out. Under Wang Kai's curious gaze, he saw that the flowing lights had all turned into beautiful women. Your so-called treasures are them? Wang Kai was speechless. His face turned green. He did not expect Zhu Beiji to do what he said. He really captured all the female disciples of the invading forces. That's right, master. Don't tell me you think it's too little? I don't have a secret stash here. It's all here, Zhu Beiji said unhappily. Initially, he thought that he could be happy. However, before he could be happy, he was crying in his heart. Young my ass. Get the hell out of here. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth suddenly twitched, and his expression was full of anger as he snapped. He thought it was some treasure. In the end, it turned out to be thousands of women. Even if he liked beauties, he didn't want thousands of them. Humph, you've already taken all the benefits and you still want me to get lost, Zhu Beiji muttered unhappily. Wait, take them all away. Wang Kai frowned when he saw this, especially those women. Most of them were throwing flirtatious glances at him, which made him feel extremely disgusted. Perhaps only someone like Zhu Beiji would be able to accept such a lowly woman. Swoosh. However, Zhu Beiji was stunned by Zhu Beiji's words. He turned around happily and rubbed his hands. He said in disbelief, Master, are you saying that you want me to take them all away? You don't want any of them? Zhu Beiji thought that he wouldn't be able to get any of them. However, he was so surprised that he almost lost his mind. Zhu Beiji couldn't control himself when he saw the looks of those beauties. He couldn't wait to take them all away. Wang Kai was speechless when he saw this scene. He never expected Zhu Beiji to be like this. Immediately, he impatiently waved his hand and said, Quickly take them away. Don't leave a single one behind. Aye. All right. Zhu Beiji clapped his hands and replied loudly. He waved his sleeves and kept all the women in his sleeve. Lad, this demon pig is so lecherous. Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble in the future if you keep him by your side? The 6th region is chaotic. As long as you are powerful enough, you can do whatever you want. However, if you leave the 6th region, Cat Lord reminded Zhu Beiji. He was also shocked by Zhu Beiji's lechery. He had seen people robbing beauties before. However, he had never seen someone robbing thousands of beauties. Wang Kai didn't care about these words. Zhu Beiji was lustful. He had captured the enemies who wanted to destroy the transcending heaven church. He was ruthless and merciless to his enemies. So, it didn't matter. On the other hand, those who claimed to be righteous but practiced crooked methods were extremely detestable. Wang Kai involuntarily rubbed his nose as he watched Zhu Beiji happily leave. He found it rather funny as he said, Strong enemies came to invade the sky-piercing church. Instead of taking their lives, they only took their women. This is also a kind of benevolence. Moreover, it seems that many of those women were very willing. Humph, Cat Lord has reminded you. Other than the 6th region, the other 5 regions have clear rules. If you cause trouble, I'm afraid. Cat Lord stopped talking at the end of his sentence. Wang Kai naturally understood what Cat Lord meant. However, it was good enough that Zhu Beiji didn't kill his enemies. As for the beauties, anyway, one was willing to be hit and the other was willing to be hit. Little Yen Yen, little Shi Shi, your husband is coming. Swoosh. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he let out a frivolous chuckle. Then, he floated down the Holy Maiden Peak. However, no matter how Wang Kai probed with his divine sense or searched the entire Saintess Peak, he couldn't find any trace of Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi. Even the maidservants had disappeared. They hid it well. Did they purposely confuse Ben Shao? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled playfully. At first, he used his divine sense to find out that Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi had arrived at the Saintess Peak. However, when he rushed over, they had disappeared without a trace. Wang Kai believed that what he had found with his divine sense was an illusion deliberately set up by Xia Xinyan and Saintess Yunshi. In fact, they had never been to the Saintess Peak. With this thought in mind, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and covered the entire sky-reaching church and the entire mountain range with his divine consciousness. However, in the end, he still couldn't find any trace of them. Wang Kai's brows immediately furrowed tightly. For a moment, he also felt extremely strange. "Kid, don't waste your time. They have already left the sky-reaching sect." Cat Lord suddenly transmitted his voice and laughed. His tone was full of schadenfreude. Chapter 681. Had they left? How long had it been? Had they left the sky-reaching church? Wang Kai frowned and asked in confusion. Even if they wanted to leave the sky-reaching church, they couldn't have done it so quickly. Was there any special way? Of course. Saintess Yunshi said before that there was no need to report to the elders. She said that she could send you out of the sky-reaching church to explore the secrets of the romantic floor. Have you forgotten about this? Cat Lord said with a faint smile. Whoosh! Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. He immediately recalled that Saintess Yunshi was indeed so confident that she could easily send him out of the sky-reaching sect. This proved that, is there an array to leave the sky-reaching church in the Saintess Peak? Or a secret passage? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes, and his expression became playful. It seemed that what he had investigated before was true. Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi had indeed returned to the Saintess Peak. Now their aura had disappeared because they had left the Saintess Peak and left the sky-reaching church. Of course, it's on the Saintess Peak. But it must have been destroyed. Lord Cat said with a gloating smile. This time, Wang Kai had suffered a loss. The duck that had been in his hand had flown away in vain. Wang Kai frowned. Naturally, he didn't want to investigate the place to leave the sky-reaching church. According to what Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi had done, they must have destroyed it after leaving the sky-reaching church, just as Lord Cat had said. Haha, you need to be sneaky when you leave the sky-reaching church, but Ben Shao doesn't need to. In that case, Ben Shao will go out of the sky-reaching church and travel around the 6th region. Let's see how much has changed in Ben Shao's Tianzhou. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Boy, you haven't helped Lord Cat find out the truth, and you want to leave? Whoosh! Lord Cat's body suddenly appeared. He stroked his whiskers, squinted his eyes, and stared at Wang Kai with hostility. Ever since he had entered the sky-reaching church, he had yet to find out the reason. On the contrary, he had been acting tough and bragging a lot. More importantly, he had been picking up girls. If it weren't for the fact that it had no other choice, Cat Lord would have lost his patience long ago. It's simple. You can transform into Ben Shao's appearance. Well, you can let Zhu Beiji follow you. Then, you can take charge of the sky-reaching church. Moreover, you can have the protection of a powerful expert. Isn't it wonderful? Wang Kai touched his nose and said with a faint smile. Hiss hiss, Cat Lord's eyes lit up when he heard this. He took a deep breath and laughed softly. That's a great plan. If that's the case, why don't you tell that pig demon? 1. As soon as he finished speaking, Cat Lord pulled out the long knife on his back. When the long knife disappeared into his body, his bones and appearance instantly became identical to Wang Kai's. There was no difference at all. Even Wang Kai couldn't help but grin when he saw this. Big stupid cat, although this young master's appearance can shock the heavens and make ghosts and gods weep, you can't just casually flirt around. This young master already has enough love debts, and I don't want to have more. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and pretended to be lonely as he sighed again and again. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Cat Lord's eyes narrowed when he heard this. He stroked his whiskers and said disdainfully, "You can rest assured. Not only will Lord Cat not flirt with girls, but I will also not brag." "Well, I won't brag either." Do you have to be so serious? When it's time to brag, you have to brag. It's healthier to brag." Wang Kai shrugged and said disdainfully, "If Cat Lord really used his appearance to become a courteous and dignified sect leader of the sky-reaching sect, Wang Kai would not be able to adapt. Keep this knife with you. If you are in danger, you can break it. It will help you get out of danger." Cat Lord stroked his whiskers and said in a deep voice. Seeing this, Wang Kai couldn't help but laugh out loud. He took Cat Grandpa's saber and shook it casually. He smiled faintly and said, "If it's broken, what are you going to use? Moreover, can this knife deal with a heavenly emperor or someone stronger than that? You know nothing. If it breaks, it doesn't mean that it will disappear completely. It will just return to Cat Lord. As for what kind of strong person it can deal with, you will know when you use it." Cat Lord stroked his whiskers and said in an unfathomable tone. Wang Kai shrugged casually when he heard this and put away the long blade. His eyes narrowed as he used his divine sense to detect Zhu Beiji's location. Then, he chuckled softly and said, "Goodbye." Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai tapped his feet and disappeared in an instant. The 6th region, one of the 6 regions in the Tianzhou. For a guy like Wang Kai to appear, I'm afraid. Ahem, forget it. Cat Lord can't control him. Cat Lord stroked his whiskers and sighed helplessly. At the same time, in the mountain behind the sky-reaching sect, there was a huge hole that had just been dug. From time to time, there were sounds of slapping and panting of a girl. Wang Kai, who had just arrived at the hole, heard the sounds. How could he not know what Zhu Beiji was doing? Wang Kai couldn't help but admire Zhu Beiji for being able to capture thousands of girls at the same time. How painful was Zhu Beiji's journey to the West for the Buddhist scriptures? How much energy did he accumulate? Wu Ning, come out. Master has something to say to you. Wang Kai stood at the hole with his hands behind his back, and said in a speechless tone. Slap slap. Oh master, wait a moment. Zhu Beiji is about to finish the 337th ferry. Hee, why don't you come in and enjoy yourself? There are more than 2,000 ferries. Zhu Beiji's journey to the West for the Buddhist scriptures is too tiring. Whoosh. When Wang Kai heard Zhu Beiji's panting, black lines appeared on his forehead. At the same time, he was also shocked. How long had it been? He had already captured more than 300 girls? Tiring journey to the West for the Buddhist scriptures. If it wasn't tiring, how much could Zhu Beiji have done? Ahem, come out quickly. Master has something urgent to tell you. Wang Kai's mouth twitched and he shouted impatiently. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Beiji rushed out of the hole. He was wearing a layer of clothes from head to toe, except for his lower body. Moreover, it was a woman's clothes. Wang Kai's eyelids twitched as he looked at Zhu Beiji, who was sweating profusely and drenched in sweat. He was indeed a pig warrior. His body was invincible, wasn't it? Master, what do you want to say? Zhu Beiji raised his hand to wipe away the sweat on his forehead, as he anxiously asked with an unclear voice. Wang Kai felt a chill run down his spine when he saw this. He couldn't help but mourn for those girls. Chapter 682. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and pretended to be unfathomable as he said, Yes, I have to go on a spiritual journey and discuss some important matters with the heavenly axiom. During this period, I will leave a substitute in the sky-reaching church to take care of some matters. Wuning, what you need to do is to protect his safety. Remember, do not expose his identity as a substitute. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Going on a spiritual journey? You want to discuss important matters with the heavenly axiom? Master, you are really busy. Zhu Beiji was speechless. For a moment, he did not know how to answer. If you want to go out and pick up girls, just say so. Why do you have to brag? Yes, this is the situation. Wuning, you have to complete the task that I have given you, Wang Kai said with a faint smile. Zhu Beiji knew that Wang Kai was bragging again, so he did not pay much attention to it. He nodded his head and said, Yes, master, please rest assured. As long as I am here, the sky-reaching church and your substitute will be safe and sound. TSK, I didn't expect you to be so good at bragging. A great teacher produces a great disciple. This is what it means, ha ha. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and laughed with a rather proud expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai turned around and left under Zhu Beiji's speechless gaze. In an instant, he disappeared without a trace. Hee, after this old pig is done entertaining these fairies, it's time for me to go out for a walk. Zhu Beiji grinned and laughed softly. Then, he hurriedly rushed into the cave, following which, a series of heavy breathing and low moans could be heard. At the floating corpse river at the foot of the Dragon Gate Mountain, Wang Kai ran at full speed. In the blink of an eye, he had left the mountain range where the sky-reaching church was located and stepped into another mountain range. There was a mountain range called the Dragon Gate Mountain. There was no land here. Some were just connected mountains, and at the center of the crevice between the mountains, there was a long river with corpses floating up and down, drifting with the flow of the water. Floating Corpse River. Wang Kai stood in the air and looked down at the rapid flowing river below. On the river there were countless corpses. They were like bones that had been dead for a long time and corpses that had just died. The blood was red, but it didn't dye the river red. Even though there were many corpses, the river was still crystal clear. The source should be the entrance to the sky-penetrating mountain range. Ben Shao just passed by there and did not discover any fighting. Since that is the case, where did these corpses come from? Wang Kai's eyebrows twitched as he muttered curiously. Yaya. Good guy big brother, look! That river is flowing in the opposite direction. It's so strange. Whoosh! Suddenly, the little white beast that had been hiding in Wang Kai's arms popped its head out. It blinked its large watery eyes and cried out in surprise. Flowing in the opposite direction? Upon hearing this, Wang Kai was stunned. He hurriedly lowered his head to look, only to discover that it was just as the heaven-swallowing beast had said. The floating corpse river below had really started to flow in the opposite direction. Those that were originally moving forward with the flow of the water were now flowing in the opposite direction. This is really interesting. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and shook his head with a smile. He couldn't help but look at the sky. Seeing that it was gradually entering dusk, he shrugged his shoulders and rushed in the opposite direction of the river. Everywhere he passed, there were corpses. After seeing such a scene many times, Wang Kai's scalp turned numb. Moreover, the deeper he went, the greater the number of corpses. The water flow also became increasingly rapid. Stop! Whoosh! Suddenly, following a loud shout, Wang Kai frowned. He couldn't help but stop. He raised his head and looked at the source of the voice in confusion. On the tall mountain peaks on both sides of the long river, there were nearly 100 practitioners in armor and helmets standing there. Their hands were waving long sabers and long spears. There were also a few people holding a large flag. On the flag there was the word Fong. Stop the boat quickly. If you don't want to become a member of the Floating Corpse River, then leave your women, cultivation resources, and everything that isn't human behind. Take off all your clothes. Wang Kai, who had originally thought that they were intercepting him, was involuntarily taken aback when he heard this. He looked down, only to discover that there was a giant ship in the distance. It had thrown down several dozen anchors before it finally came to a stop, floating at the center of the river. On the huge boat there were also nearly 100 practitioners. At this moment, when they heard the shout, they all stood on the deck and stared coldly at the practitioners above. Haha, so it's the brothers from the Fong family village. Rumor has it that there are 10 major forces in the Floating Corpse River and the Fong family village is ranked 7. It's an honor to meet you today. An old man walked out from the boat. He was holding a walking stick and stroking his beard as he laughed softly. Don't try to worm your way into being friends. Do as I say or die. On the mountain peak, the middle-aged man who was the leader scolded loudly without giving any face. Ah, Fifth Master, let him worm his way into being friends with us. That's right. Every time someone tries to worm their way into being friends with us, they don't live. If they really listen to us and leave everything behind, can't our sabers and spears drink blood? In an instant, the cultivators of the Fong family village all laughed out loud. Hearing this, the old man on the huge boat and the other practitioners all frowned slightly. Their faces were extremely ugly for a moment. The old man and the others had heard of the Fong family village and the other 9 major forces. However, they did not know their rules. Even a polite exchange could easily lead to a complete wipeout. This was something that the old man had never considered from the beginning. Fifth Master, I hope that you can make an exception. This time, we are passing through the Floating Corpse River to settle some important matters in the domain main city of the 6th region. If the journey is delayed, my master will be very unhappy. The old man frowned and said softly, Master? Going to the domain main city? Once these words were spoken, it immediately caused the expressions of the Fong family stockade cultivators to become startled. Their gazes simultaneously looked towards the 5th head who was leading the group. At this moment, the 5th master's eyes flickered non-stop. Hesitation and doubt flashed in his eyes. What is the name of your master? There are not many who can enter the domain main city in the 6th region, the 5th master said coldly. Swoosh. Hearing this, the old man was about to speak but was directly interrupted by Wang Kai, who had been watching the show for a long time. Are you all idiots? It's just a fight. Is there a need to waste so much effort? If you want to go to the domain main city, you have to ask where you came from. It seems that you are just 3 despicable bandits. If it was Ben Shao Humph, he can go wherever he wants. If you pass by, you have to pay the toll. Wang Kai frowned and smiled indifferently with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Chapter 683. Where did this little bandit come from? He's quite good at bragging. Haha, I'm full of admiration for your bragging skills. Hee, since this kid has the potential to be a bandit, why don't we take him into the Fong family? What do you guys think? That's not bad. It's not bad to have a little brother to brag about. In an instant, the Fong family members on the mountain peak all opened their mouths and laughed out loud. They felt that Wang Kai's bragging was rather interesting. Similarly, the people on the giant ship could not help but laugh. However, no one showed any hostility towards Wang Kai. They all treated him as a hothead who had just come out to experience the world. Even if Wang Kai could stand in the air, this ability could be found everywhere in the Tianzhou region. Let the handsome and awe-inspiring Ben Shao go to the Feng family as a little brother? Do I have to brag about it for fun? Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. His eyebrows were furrowed so much that they were about to fly off. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Ha ha ha, interesting, really interesting. What a funny kid. Yeah, ha ha. Hearing the laughter of the people on the mountain peak and on the giant ship, Wang Kai's forehead was immediately filled with black lines. The veins on his forehead bulged. You guys are really good at bragging. Each and every one of you is so good at bragging. Wang Kai gritted his teeth and sneered. Among the experts on the mountain peak and the giant ship, the strongest one was only a low-grade heavenly lord. Lower grade, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, middle grade, 4th, 5th, upper grade, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Although Wang Kai was only a 1st-grade heavenly lord, which belonged to the category of lower grade, if he used the 5th-grade heaven power, he would have the combat strength of a 6th-grade heavenly lord. It was equivalent to a middle-grade heavenly lord. Brat, don't act tough over there. How about it? Do you want to join our Feng clan? The 5th elder waved his long saber and laughed loudly. The rest of the people from Feng family village also greeted him with admiration. On the other hand, the people on the giant ship shook their heads one after another, feeling extremely amused. Whoosh! However, Wang Kai did not utter a single word. With a dark face, he pushed off the ground and instantly appeared on the giant ship. With a flip of his hand, he slammed his palm forward. One. Rumble! Bang bang bang! In an instant, under the assault of bursts of Tao intent, everyone on the giant ship was struck to the point of somersaulting and fiercely falling around the deck. Whoosh! Such a scene immediately caused everyone on the mountain to be stunned. All of them stared at Wang Kai in shock. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that a braggart, an unknown hothead, would actually be so powerful. That Tao intent just now should be at the Heaven Monarch realm, right? 5th Master, what should we do? I thought he was just a kid at the Sky Origin stage. Many experts from the Feng family village were extremely embarrassed. For a moment, they felt like they had been slapped in the face. Just a moment ago, they wanted to take him in as a little brother. His cultivation was not inferior to the 5th Master's. How could he be a little brother? There was a possibility that he would be beaten up. Cough cough, little brother, may I know which faction you are from? This old man, the leader of the elders on the giant ship, clutched his chest and crawled up. Halfway through his words, he was directly interrupted by Wang Kai with a wave of his hand. Oh, now you know how to speak politely? Why didn't I see you being polite just now? You were quite polite to those idiots. Wang Kai curled his lips and sneered with a disdainful expression. Some people should be taught a lesson. Otherwise, they will always look down on you. A kind man will be bullied, a kind horse will be ridden. When it's time to act, one should act. One time to beat them into submission. A little. Hearing this, the elder and the other cultivators' faces all turned red. For a moment, they were extremely ashamed and angry. Indeed, they had really underestimated Wang Kai just now. Originally, they had treated Wang Kai as a rash young man who had never seen the world. Now, when he made a move, no one could defeat him. Little, your uncle's little? Why are you guys acting like tigers? Bullying the weak and fearing the strong. With such a cowardly appearance, you still want to come out of the ship? My master. Who is your master? If you are so awesome, why don't you come out? Wang Kai shrugged and sneered with disdain. Hearing this, the elder frowned tightly. When Wang Kai mentioned the master, a cold murderous intent flashed in his eyes. From this, it could be seen how much respect and loyalty they had for the so-called master. What this and that, all of you take off your clothes and jump into the floating corpse river. Ben Shao wants this ship. Yes, there were also those lowly bandits up there. Take off all their clothes and jump down. Do a few breaststrokes and show Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. Swish. As soon as these words came out, it immediately caused everyone's face to stiffen. They wanted to be angry, but they were also afraid of Wang Kai's cultivation. If I knew earlier, I would have let the fourth head come together. Sigh, yes, the fifth head is only a first-grade heavenly lord, but the fourth head is a peak heavenly lord. What should we do? If we really listen to him and jump into the floating corpse river, won't we be doomed to die? That floating corpse river is very strange. No matter what it is, once it enters, it will lose its life. Wang Kai's eyes narrowed slightly as he listened to the discussions of the many experts from the Feng family village. His expression was filled with amusement as he swept his gaze across the crystal-clear river of floating corpses. Once it enters, no matter what it is, it will lose its life? How could it be so strange? What? You said that this river can devour the life of any living thing? Damn you, are you lying to Ben Shao? Wang Kai's face suddenly changed, and his eyes were extremely unfriendly as he snorted coldly. Swish. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly shouted in unison, "No, no, we wouldn't dare. What we said is true. Yes, yes, absolutely not a word of deception. This floating corpse river really can't be entered." Swish. Wang Kai suddenly waved his hand and shouted loudly, "If so, then jump down and show Ben Shao that you didn't lie to Ben Shao." Hearing this, everyone's eyes bulged, and they were all dumbfounded on the spot. They never thought that Wang Kai's ultimate goal was actually this. To jump or not to jump? To jump? To be doomed to die? To not jump? With the fifth head's cultivation, it was really difficult for him to protect the others. In the end, it was the small soldiers who died. Bastard! You are just a first-grade heavenly lord, how dare you be so arrogant? Come up and fight with me! Suddenly, the fifth head shouted sternly. At the same time, he kept winking at the experts of the Feng family stockade, indicating that they should take the opportunity to retreat quickly. Chapter 684. I'll let you act tough. Come down. And all of you, don't even think about leaving. Wang Kai frowned with disdain. With a flip of his hand, he slapped the mountain peak across the air. Buzz. Crack, rumble. Suddenly, the edge of the mountain peak was smashed into pieces. Along with the Feng family stockade's fifth head and many experts, they all fell down. So strong. Cough, cough. Bang. Bang, bang. With Wang Kai's intentional flip of his hand, the experts from the Feng family stockade all fell onto the giant ship. Especially the fifth head, who was hit the hardest by Wang Kai's Dao will. He spat out blood on the spot, and his face was extremely pale. Your power of heaven is above level 1. The fifth head said as he coughed out blood. Swoosh. As soon as he said that, everyone was shocked again. It was already shocking to hear that he had reached the heavenly lord realm at such a young age. Who would have thought that even his power of heaven was above level 1? You are only at the first level of the power of heaven, but this young master is not at the first level, but the 10th level. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Level 10, Power of Heaven, such words left everyone speechless. Originally, they had thought that Wang Kaihui was going to reveal the true level of heavenly energy. In the end, he said it was level 10. He was just bragging. Little brother, my master is the Windflower City's Windflower Tower master. He has important matters to attend to in the region main city. I hope you can make an exception. Suddenly, when the old man spoke of his background, the hearts of the people from the Feng family stockade jumped violently. Even the fifth head swallowed a mouthful of saliva. When he looked at Wang Kai again, his eyes were filled with gratitude. If not for Wang Kai's interference, he would have offended the Wind-Flower Tower. That was the sixth domain, a place that should not be offended. And the house master of the romantic floor was also a person who should not be provoked. Are you saying that you are from the romantic floor? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked curiously. Initially, he had thought that they would be from some powerful force. However, he did not expect that they would be from the romantic floor. This time, Wang Kai had come to the sky-reaching church to find Xia Xinyan and Yun Shi. However, he also wanted to take a stroll in the romantic floor. He wanted to see how beautiful the famous lady boss of the sixth domain was. However, on the way there, they encountered the people from the romantic floor. What a coincidence! Cough cough, that's right. They are all employees of the romantic floor. As for this old man, I am the shopkeeper of the romantic floor. The old man held his chest as he spoke with a courteous smile. If he had known earlier that Wang Kai was so strong, he would not have mocked him so arrogantly. This also caused the old man to secretly become vigilant. In the future, he absolutely could not casually walk around with a haughty attitude. Otherwise, he would have died without a complete corpse. Oh, there are almost 100 employees. The romantic floor seems to be quite big. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled with a playful expression. Swoosh! Upon hearing this, the old man's mouth twitched violently. He looked at Wang Kai in shock. He did not expect that he did not even know what the romantic floor looked like. Not to mention the sixth domain, even in the other domains, the romantic floor was a well-known existence. Its scale was frighteningly large. Its force was even more powerful and terrifying. Cough cough, little brother, may I know which force you are from? In the future, I will visit you and thank you for your help. The old man's eyes flickered slightly as he spoke. The old man was speechless that Wang Kai didn't know about the Fenghua Snow Moon Pavilion. He could only find out about Wang Kai's background so that he could keep him in check. Otherwise, what should he do if this brat, who did not know the power of the romantic floor, killed all of them in a fit of rage? Haha, you don't have to be like this. Ben Shao is going to the romantic floor this time to take a look at my sweetheart. Oh, I mean your lady boss. How is her body now? Is it smoother? Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back as his eyes were filled with lust. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Swoosh. Little brother, the power of the romantic floor is not something you can understand. You have to pay attention to your words. The old man's expression changed abruptly as he could not help but scold Lin Fan sternly. Everyone present was extremely respectful towards the lady boss. How could they allow Wang Kai to humiliate her like this? Even the people from the Feng family village frowned, afraid that Wang Kai would implicate the Feng family village. The Feng family village will not be enemies with the romantic floor. The fifth head clenched his teeth and quickly expressed his stance. The old man let out a muffled snort in response and ignored him. However, this scene caused Wang Kai to raise his eyebrows. The old man was still polite to the Feng family village just a moment ago. Now, after the Feng family village backed down, he became even more arrogant. It seemed that people could not be spoiled. You are such a coward. Can't you be a little tougher? What's more about the romantic floor? If you want to act tough, you will still be beaten to death. Do you think you're fit to be a bandit with your looks? Can you show some respect to the profession of a bandit? Wang Kai sneered with disdain. Swoosh. The fifth leader immediately felt extremely ashamed and furious when he heard this. He also felt extremely sullen in his heart. The old man's politeness in the beginning and his arrogance now were two extremes. However, no matter how strong the Feng family village was in the floating corpse river, they were not stronger than the romantic floor. Little brother, you have to think carefully. The strength of the romantic floor in the sixth region. Bang! Crack! What? Suddenly, before the old man could finish speaking, Wang Kai flipped his hand and slapped him, causing his face to explode. Even his body was violently smashed into the deck. Think your ass. No matter how strong the romantic floor is it because you are strong? You are not even worth a fart. Who are you trying to intimidate? F***CKU. Take advantage of your seniority. Get down and take a bath. Wang Kai's face was black as he coldly snorted in annoyance. The moment his words left his mouth, he kicked the old man off the boat. Plop, splash. No. Save me. Save, under Wang Kai's astonished gaze, no matter how hard the old man struggled, his body sank. Moreover, in just a few breaths' time, the old man had turned into a pile of white bones. He could not be more dead. Such a scene caused everyone to swallow their saliva as they looked at Wang Kai with fear in their eyes. They did not expect this person to be so ruthless. That's not right. Why did he turn into a pile of white bones after going down? Look, there are still many intact corpses on the river. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked in surprise. Chapter 685. This. You may not know this, but it's true that the living will turn into white bones after entering the floating corpse river. However, if the dead enter the floating corpse river, not only will they not turn into white bones, but their bodies will also not rot for 100 years. The fifth head smiled apologetically. After witnessing how Wang Kai mercilessly threw the old man into the floating corpse river, he no longer dared to act tough. If he wasn't even afraid of the romantic floor, he wouldn't be afraid of the Fong family stockade. The living will turn into white bones, while the dead will not rot for 100 years. Interesting. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and smiled curiously. As expected of Tianzhou, even a river could have such a miraculous effect. He didn't know if he would be corroded by the floating corpse river if he were to fall into it with his invulnerable body. Young hero, can you let us go? We'll give you all the goods on the boat. That's right, we don't want to die. We don't want to die. In an instant, the workers of the romantic floor were all crying and begging for mercy. After witnessing how Wang Kai threw the shopkeeper into the floating corpse river without hesitation, they were all terrified. In an instant, their hearts were clouded by the fear of death. The so-called loyalty from before had completely disappeared. In the face of death, how could there be loyalty? Perhaps the dead shopkeeper would, but it was too late. He was already dead, so what loyalty was there to speak of? In response, Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with a mocking smile, Ben Shao doesn't care about your life or death. However, if you want to leave this place, then turn the boat against the flow and bring Ben Shao to the romantic floor to have some fun. Go to the romantic floor? Whoosh. The moment these words were spoken, everyone was stunned. All of them looked at Wang Kai with eyes full of suspicion. They were all secretly suspicious in their hearts. Was this a test? According to the fact that Wang Kai killed the shopkeeper, why would he dare to go to the romantic floor? Could it be that he wanted to throw away his life? This. Young hero, we won't reveal the fact that you killed the shopkeeper. Yes, we will definitely keep our mouths shut. We would rather die than submit. Everyone looked at each other and promised in unison. We will definitely keep this a secret. I won't leak it. That's right. The Fong family will definitely keep their mouths shut. In an instant, everyone in the Fong family village, under the lead of the fifth master, spoke in unison. Each and every one of their expressions was simply sincere. Are you all idiots? Would Ben Shao be afraid of romantic floor? Didn't Ben Shao mention it just now? Even the lady boss is Ben Shao's little lover. Who would Ben Shao be afraid of? Wang Kai said with a disdainful smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the second stage of the Heavenly Monarch realm. So, are we going or not? No one could make up their minds. On one hand, they did not know if Wang Kai was testing them or if he really wanted to go to romantic floor. Once they spoke, they would be thrown into the floating corpse river. All right, Ben Shao has made up his mind. Quickly turn around and bring Ben Shao to romantic floor, Wang Kai said calmly with his hands behind his back. Swoosh. Hearing this and seeing Wang Kai's calm and composed appearance, the crowd was still somewhat uncertain. For a moment, no one dared to speak. Didn't you hear Ben Shao's words? Quickly turn around. Otherwise, I will throw you into the floating corpse river. Wang Kai frowned and snorted with an unfriendly gaze. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. In the end, it was the fifth master who braced himself and said, even if you want to turn around, you have to wait until tomorrow morning. Otherwise, the floating corpse river will always flow in the opposite direction until it reaches the city lord. Swish. Hearing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and could not help but squint his eyes. He asked curiously, why is that? I am not sure either. The floating corpse river has always been like this. At dusk, it will flow in the opposite direction. At dawn, it will flow in the opposite direction. The fifth master shook his head and said, at dusk, the opposite direction. At dawn, the opposite direction. This was somewhat interesting. Yes, this young master understands. Then, all of you will step into the air and pull the boat in the front. We will proceed in the direction of the romantic flower snow moon pavilion. Wang Kai flipped his hand and took out a folding fan. Swish. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. Pull the boat against the current and back to romantic floor? Was this possible? Even if it was possible, it would probably tire them to death. This method cannot be done. The floating corpse river's current is extremely fast. Even a heavenly monarch realm expert cannot pull the boat against the current. The fifth master gritted his teeth and said, patter. Wang Kai held his folding fan and patted his shoulder lightly. He squinted his eyes and smiled faintly. What did you say? Even a heavenly monarch realm expert cannot pull the boat? Then, did you know that this floating corpse river was created by Ben Shao? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Bragging. Braggart. Hearing this, everyone was filled with disdain. A hothead who did not even know about romantic floor and Feng family stockade dared to say that the floating corpse river was created by him. However, if we carry the boat, it is possible. The fifth master suddenly said. After saying this, the fifth master felt extremely helpless. Everyone was speechless. Carrying the huge boat all the way to romantic floor, although it was easier than pulling the boat in the river, it would definitely tire them to death in the end. Oh, you can decide on this matter yourselves. Ben Shao will give you 10 breaths to decide as soon as possible. Do you want to go against the current or step on the air? Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Kai placed his hands behind his back and walked towards the cargo hold of the boat. Patter. When he opened the door of the warehouse, he saw that there were many big boxes inside. Inside the boxes were all kinds of weapons. Moreover, the aura of each weapon was extremely powerful. It is stronger than a supreme weapon. What level of weapon is this? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and could not help but reach out and pick up a long sword. As he waved it, a cold light flashed. Swoosh. Patter. When Wang Kai swung the sword, the blade did not touch anything, nor did the sword aura overflow. However, the boxes suddenly shattered into pieces. What a strange weapon! When Wang Kai saw this, he immediately raised his eyebrows. Just now, he did not use any of his cultivation. He only used his strength and casually swung the sword. Even without using his cultivation, it was still so powerful. If he used his cultivation, how terrifying would it be? We have decided. We will pull the huge boat forward. Outside, the fifth head's extremely helpless voice sounded. His tone was filled with grievance. "Oh, you came at the right time. Come in and see what level these weapons are." Wang Kai slightly raised his eyebrows and called out with a surprised expression. Chapter 686. The Grades of the Weapons? The fifth head, who was standing outside, was stunned. He quickly walked in and looked at the dazzling array of weapons. For a moment, he was dumbfounded. To be able to stun the fifth head of the Feng family stockade, a heavenly lord. This scene made Wang Kai squint his eyes. "Don't just stand there and stare. Tell me, what are the grades of these weapons?" Wang Kai shrugged and said impatiently. Ever since he came to Tianzhou, he knew that there were the 9 scrolls of Dao techniques and heaven martial skills. However, he didn't know how the weapons were graded. Even if he didn't use them, he could use them to show off. The lowest grade of the weapons here is a level 6 heaven martial weapon. There are so many of them. Each one of them could make a heavenly lord go crazy. They would fight for them until their eyes turned red and blood flowed like a river. The fifth head exclaimed, "Level 6. Heaven martial weapon?" Swoosh. Hearing this, Wang Kai frowned and couldn't help but play with the longsword. He squinted his eyes and looked at it. He smiled and said, "TSK, heaven martial weapon, what a domineering name. Level 6, what's going on? Is level 6 the strongest weapon in Tianzhou?" The fifth head was stunned and looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. He couldn't believe that he really didn't know anything. If he didn't know, then who was he and his cultivation level? Wasn't he afraid of the romantic floor? Was he really a hothead with no background? Ahem, the heaven martial weapon is divided into 9 levels. Level 1 is the weakest and level 9 is the strongest. Each level corresponds to a cultivation level. For example, a heaven soldier realm expert can only use a level 1 heaven martial weapon. A heavenly lord realm expert can only use a level 6 heaven martial weapon. However, anyone below level 6 can use it at will. The fifth head wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and explained in detail. Level 9, heaven martial weapon. For each cultivation level, one could only use a heaven martial weapon of the same level. No matter how high one's cultivation was, one would not be able to use an Empyrean martial divine weapon that matched one's cultivation. In that case, Ben Shao is now in the heavenly monarch realm. Although he can use Tier 1 to Tier 6 weapons, he can't use Tier 7 weapons? Wang Kai frowned and laughed in surprise. The fifth elder nodded and said seriously, "That's right. The weapon I used before was only a Tier 5 weapon, and it was given to me by the fourth elder. Fifth stage here, stage 6 was everywhere, and there were also quite a number of stage 6 and above. From this, it could be seen that the Feng family village was truly inferior to the romantic floor. It was no wonder that the fifth master was so afraid of the dead old butler. Lead the way for Ben Shao. You can choose any one of these weapons, but it is only limited to rank 6 and below." Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with a casual smile, "Whoosh." Hearing this, the fifth head, who was originally overjoyed, lost a lot of his joy in the end. Although a Tier 6 weapon was very precious, who wouldn't want a Tier 7 weapon? Even if he couldn't use it now, he could use it when he needed it in the future. Moreover, if he chose a Tier 7 weapon and sold it, he could exchange it for a lot of Tier 6 weapons. He could also get more cultivation treasures and resources. For a moment, the fifth head was completely speechless by Wang Kai. But to be able to get a Tier 6 weapon was a blessing and a curse. "Thank you, senior. I'll choose this black saber." The fifth head cupped his fists and thanked him. Among the dazzling weapons, he chose a long black saber at a glance. It looked majestic and awe-inspiring. A Tier 6 heavenly martial weapon, just like the fifth head's cultivation in the heavenly monarch realm. It was just right for him to use it. "Wait, does Ben Shao mean that you can take it now?" Wang Kai suddenly frowned and stared at him with an unfriendly expression. Whoosh. Hearing this, the fifth head's excitement disappeared again. What was left was endless despair and helplessness. Senior, didn't you just say that you'll give one to me? The fifth head said speechlessly. He hugged the long black saber tightly as if it was his treasure. How could he be willing to let it go? Seeing this, Wang Kai was really disdainful. Feng Family Stockade, the seventh bandit group of the Floating Corpse River's 10 great powers. In the end, a mere rank 6 heavenly martial divine armament was reduced to such a state. Has your Feng Family Stockade not robbed anything good for many years? Wang Kai frowned and asked in surprise. Whoosh! As soon as these words were spoken, the fifth leader's face immediately flushed red, and his heart was filled with extreme shame and indignation. Just as Wang Kai said, although the Feng Family Stockade was very famous in the Floating Corpse River, when it came to robbing, it also depended on who the other party was. Just like today, when they encountered the romantic floor, who dared to provoke them. To be honest, there is only one power in the Floating Corpse River that can rob anyone. That is the #1 wanted office. The fifth head said, Wanted office? #1 of the 10 great powers in the Floating Corpse River? They dared to rob anyone? We are all 10 great powers, why is there such a big difference? Sigh, forget it. Since you like it so much, take it. These things are not even worth a fart in Ben Shao's eyes. It's not that I want to boast, but as long as Ben Shao wants, he can have a few trillion of them. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. He can have tens of thousands, no, hundreds of millions of heavenly martial weapons just like that? In Tianzhou, even if all of them were added together, there wouldn't be so many of them. The fifth head was speechless. He never thought that Wang Kai would be so good at bragging. There was no limit to his bragging. Yes, and they are the most awesome rank 9 ones. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled with an indifferent expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! Hearing these words, the fifth head's eyes suddenly bulged. After swallowing a mouthful of saliva, he hurriedly said, I never thought that Senior would be so awesome. If there is a chance, I really want to invite Senior to my Feng Family Stockade as a guest. Yes, although Ben Shao is a busy man and a famous person, even the palace master of the Empyrean Palace is crying and begging for Ben Shao to be a guest. However, Ben Shao will give you face and visit the Feng Family Stockade. Wang Kai gently nodded and smiled. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as Wang Kai finished speaking, the fifth head was already dumbfounded. He looked at Wang Kai in disbelief. He never thought that Wang Kai would be so shameless. What he said just now was obviously just a formality. If Wang Kai really went, would the Feng Family Stockade be any better? Chapter 687. Alright, Ben Shao doesn't want to waste time boasting with you here. Let's go. Quickly organize the group and pull the boat. Do you know that for someone like Ben Shao, if he doesn't go to the romantic floor, the lady boss will cry earth-shatteringly? Wang Kai waved his hand and threw the weapon on the ground. Then, he walked out of the warehouse with his hands behind his back. Congratulations to the host for successfully boasting. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. He left the dumbfounded fifth head in the warehouse. For a moment, he couldn't come back to his senses. Who was the one bragging to whom? Who was the one who was boasting and wasting their time? At the end of the Floating Corpse River, there was a fairy port called Leading Spirit City. It was already noon. After traveling for an entire night, it was noon again. Even the Floating Corpse River was flowing smoothly before they reached the ferry port. At the ferry port, there were many boats slowly approaching the shore. The giant ship that Wang Kai was on also followed closely behind, stepping through the air. It could be said that the speed of the huge boats approaching the shore was faster than Wang Kai's boat. They had only set off in the morning, but the boats overtook them one by one. Wang Kai was so angry that he taught the fifth head and the others a lesson. Tsk, what an awesome young man. He doesn't even need a boat to travel. Instead, he has people pulling the boat and wants to compete with us. Really? Sigh, the wind is getting worse. Haha, but I like this kind of young man. He's so energetic. Not bad. He's just a little stupid. Ha. Wahahaha. In an instant, the people on the boats that overtook Wang Kai's boat started laughing. Along the way, Wang Kai had challenged them many times, wanting to compete with them to see who was faster. But in the end, he still lost. It was strange that the fifth head and the others couldn't fly fast. Now, those who were pulling the boats were so tired that their chests were sticking to their back. Their bodies were covered in sweat as they lay on the boats like dead dogs. It was a tragic sight. Wang Kai's face darkened as he clenched his teeth and said with a smile, "You guys are the best." Just now, Ben Shao didn't surpass you guys because Ben Shao felt that he should be a bit more honest. It wouldn't be good to hurt your self-esteem too much. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Previously in the Floating Corpse River, if not for the fact that he did not want to kill the innocent, he could have made a move and destroyed all of the other party's ship. However, Wang Kai did not want to do that. There was no enmity between them, so why must they meet each other in life and death? Of course, if he were to act like the shopkeeper of the romantic floor and act like a pretentious prick, Wang Kai would definitely not go easy on him. Ha ha ha, young man, you're so eloquent. You clearly lost to us, but you say that you deliberately let us win. Tsk, forget it. We don't want to waste any more time with you here. Let's go. Quick, look at those guys pulling the ships. They're so tired that they look like dead pigs. Everyone burst into laughter as they waved goodbye to Wang Kai. Bah, bastard. How dare you say that I'm a stupid pig. The fifth head's complexion was extremely weak as he raised his head. The words that he spoke were powerless and extremely weak, like that of a mosquito. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai's expression became even more ugly. Veins popped out on his forehead as he glared at them with an unhappy expression. Then, he flipped his body in the air. Bang! Crack! Crash! Suddenly, when Wang Kai's feet stepped on the ship was directly crushed into two halves, causing the river water to churn. Swoosh! When the owner of the ship and the workers heard such a loud sound, they immediately turned their heads. When they saw the ship being crushed, they immediately grimaced in anger, their eyes spitting fire. Especially when they saw Wang Kai still in the air, smiling casually, they were so angry that they almost suffocated. Little bastard! I've really given you some face. Bastard! Cripple him! In an instant, under the stern scolding of the owner of the ship, many of the workers stepped into the air, their terrifying auras sweeping towards Wang Kai. The weakest were at the heavenly origin stage, and there were more than a dozen heavenly kings. The owner of the ship was even more powerful, at the peak of the heavenly king stage. Buzz! However, the pressure completely disappeared with a casual wave of Wang Kai's hand. Such a scene caused those people to be stunned as well, and their eyes were filled with terror. They never thought that a brat like him would have such a terrifying cultivation. It was one thing for him to block the pressure of the heavenly origin stage. Even a heavenly king, or even a peak heavenly king, could resolve it so easily. You are a heavenly monarch stage expert. Schwa! When the owner of the ship shouted, the hearts of those who were planning to watch the show jumped. A portion of the cultivators who had mocked Wang Kai swallowed a mouthful of saliva. For a moment they were extremely flustered. They were afraid that Wang Kai would get angry and destroy them here. Little brother, it was a misunderstanding just now. Yes, that's right, that's right. It's a misunderstanding, a pure misunderstanding. Under the display of Wang Kai's cultivation, everyone hurriedly cupped their fists and bowed in apology. All of them had extremely respectful expressions, but in their hearts, they were also extremely terrified. Even the cultivators who wanted to make a move on Wang Kai had to bite the bullet, their hearts bleeding as they cupped their fists and apologized. Do you understand now? A powerful man like Ben Shao can make tens of thousands of beauties faint in bed. On the battlefield, he can make countless soldiers submit. In the cultivation world, he can make all the cultivators say that they are inferior to him. Such an awesome Ben Shao, if he wants to surpass your ship, wouldn't it be easy? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Schwa. As soon as these words came out, everyone was dumbfounded on the spot. Their eyes and mouths were wide open as they stared at Wang Kai in a daze. Young hero, you really know how to brag. You even dare to rob my Mu Sanyang's goods from the romantic floor. What else can you not do? Suddenly, an extremely charming laughter rang out. Immediately, everyone who heard it fell to the ground in fright, staring at Wang Kai with pale faces. Romantic floor, Mu Sanyang. And her cargo ship was robbed by this young man in front of them. Even romantic floor's Mu Sanyang was alerted and took the initiative to come here. For a moment, everyone felt that they were a little too bold just now. They even dared to ridicule someone who dared to provoke Mu Sanyang. Wasn't that courting death? Mu Sanyang? Who are you? Since you are here, why don't you show yourself? Oh, of course, you can also choose to give yourself to me. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and scanned the surroundings cautiously. He could hear the voice, but he could not pinpoint the location. This person's cultivation must be higher than his. And the difference was huge. Chapter 688. You're young, but you're quite arrogant. Swoosh. Suddenly, a woman in a purple dress slowly walked over from the distant sky. Her appearance was charming and beautiful, and could be said to be of the highest quality. Her figure made Wang Kai's throat go dry. She had slender legs and was extremely tall. Her buttocks were plump and perky, and she was wearing a split skirt. As she walked, her plump buttocks swayed. Her snow-white long legs were so dazzling that it could blind any hero. What was even more unbearable was her slender waist. It was like a water snake twisting left and right. Looking up, the two peaks were also frighteningly large. As she moved, they bounced up and down. Her skin was even whiter than snow, and shone with a luster. It was as if they would jump out at any time. Coupled with her charming temperament and peerless appearance, she was indeed a treasure of the human world, a peerless killer. Not bad, not bad. Mu Sanyang, right? Come, use those two peaks in front of you and give Ben Shao's little brother a push. Down there, your legs are enough. Don't refuse. It's your honor. Ben Shao rarely lusts after women. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the third stage of Heavenly Lord. Give his little brother a push with those two peaks? Swoosh. As soon as he said that, the corners of everyone's mouth twitched violently. Some of them were even dumbfounded. They never thought that this young man would dare to speak so rudely in front of Mu Sanyang. Moreover, use that to push his little brother. What kind of game was that? It was unheard of. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang's enchanting figure and charming face both froze. She stopped in her tracks. Black lines appeared on her forehead as she looked at Wang Kai. She forced a smile and said, "Sure, follow me to the romantic floor." But, did I hear it wrong? Swoosh. Hearing that, everyone was shocked. They thought that Mu Sanyang would fly into a rage and kill Wang Kai with a thunderbolt. But now, not only did she not do that, she even agreed. Although she did not look too happy, it was obvious that she had endured it and agreed. Who was this Wang Kai? What was his identity? Even the lady boss of the romantic floor had to give him some leeway? Unbeknownst to them, Wang Kai was a little dumbfounded at that moment. Originally, he was sure that there would be a great battle of oars. In the end, he would capture Mu Sanyang and find an inn to have a taste of her. But now, things were completely different from what he had expected. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Hearing that, Wang Kai's face darkened. Even thinking about it was considered bragging. But it did not matter. He shrugged and smiled faintly. Well, since Sanyang invited me so sincerely, how could I, the handsome and powerful Benshao, refuse? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. He would not refuse anyone, the handsome young man. Handsome and powerful, the crowd was already numb. They had seen bragging before, but they had never seen such bragging. Almost every sentence was related to bragging, and the way he bragged was unacceptable. As a Heaven Monarch expert, Wang Kai was bound to be powerful. But he was definitely not as powerful as Mu Sanyang. The two of them were not on the same level. However, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Wang Kai still boasted. Even Mu Sanyang couldn't help but shake her head and chuckle. Her beautiful eyes blinked as she stared at Wang Kai. Secretly, she wondered which sect he belonged to. Empyrean Palace? Underworld Palace? Heavenly Martial Palace? Or one of the top 10 factions? Mu Sanyang thought to herself. Unfortunately, Wang Kai didn't have any flaws at all. No matter where they looked, they couldn't find any clues about the power behind him. Right now, the only thing he could do was to trick him back to the romantic floor and test him further. After all, in the 6th region, and even the other 5 regions, there were not many who dared to board the romantic floor's cargo ship. At least, there were not more than 20 factions who dared to do so. If that's the case, then come with me. Mu Sanyang covered her face and giggled. Then, she swayed her slender waist, swayed her hips, and walked away. Swoosh. Seeing this, Wang Kai swallowed his saliva. It was not that he could not walk away in front of a beauty. It was that this woman was too different and too mesmerizing. She was charming, sensual, and a peerless monster. Don't worry, Benshao is coming, haha. Wang Kai laughed. With a tap of his foot, he appeared in the air. When he arrived at Mu Sanyang's side, Wang Kai did not hesitate to slap her extremely plump buttocks. Buzz. Bang. But before Wang Kai's hand could hit her, a subtle but powerful force pushed his hand back. You still have to cultivate well. You can't do anything to me with this little skill. Mu Sanyang looked back and smiled seductively. Then, her body began to twist more and more violently. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. Wang Kai could see it, but he couldn't touch it. Wang Kai was so angry that his face darkened. He could not stop gritting his teeth. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. Unable to suppress the itch in his heart, he secretly asked, "How many bragging points do I need to seal this woman?" Host, with your current cultivation level, you need to spend 50,000 bragging points to seal a Heavenly Reversal Elite. 50,000 bragging points, F***CK. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai was dumbfounded on the spot, to the extent that he almost couldn't control the force of his midair step and almost fell from the sky. Sealing a Heavenly Monarch Elite required 2,000 bragging points, but this Mu Sanyang, a Heavenly Reversal Elite, required 50,000 bragging points. The difference was like heaven and earth. Host, Wang Kai profession, Heavenly Martial Artist realm, 3rd grade Heavenly Lord Taoist Art, Heavenly Tao Superpower, Luck Deprivation Skill, Great Summoning Skill Equipment, Ever-Changing Fan Heavenly Power, Level 5 Astral Source Points, 0 Physique, Invulnerable Guardian Beasts, None Bragging Points, 17700 Experience, 2000009000000. Wang Kai could not help but use his mind to check his current bragging points. When he realized that he only had 17,700 bragging points, he shook his head speechlessly. Heavenly Reversal, above the Heavenly Emperor realm? Upper 3 heavens? Or even higher? Lower 3 heavens, Heavenly Soldier, Heavenly General, Heavenly Origin. Middle 3 heavens, Heavenly King, Heavenly Monarch, Heavenly Emperor. Upper 3 heavens, Heavenly Reversal? Or even higher? For a moment, Wang Kai was helpless. He had just found out about the existence of Taoist arts, heavenly martial skills, and heavenly martial weapons, but he still did not know anything about the higher realms. Sanyang, a heavenly reversal elite, is indeed very strong. Benshao can't take you down now, but I still want to warn you. I'll give you 3 days to think about it. If you don't come to me on your own accord, don't blame Benshao for being ruthless and destroying your romantic floor. Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and said with a cold smile, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points." Chapter 689. Swoosh. These words immediately caused Mu Sanyang's delicate body to tremble. A murderous intent flashed across her face, but she quickly recovered her smile. She turned back and said with a charming smile, "Since you can't force me, you're resorting to coercion? Force? Threaten?" Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and rubbed his chin seriously. He nodded and said, "Well, you can understand it that way. Think about it yourself. Lead the way." Mu Sanyang's heart sank as she looked at Wang Kai's serious face, as if he was sure of his victory. If Wang Kai did not have a strong backing, he would not have dared to provoke her like this. He would not have dared to give her 3 days to consider giving herself to him. Little did she know that Wang Kai could tell that Mu Sanyang was doubting the strength of the backing behind him. Otherwise, with Mu Sanyang's reputation and status in the 6th region, she would have killed him long ago. Why would she waste so much effort to sound him out? He would beat her at her own game. Little brother, you're so domineering. Sigh, it's a pity that I'm already married. Even if I have such thoughts, I don't have the right to accept you. Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes blinked slightly as she covered her face and laughed. A married woman. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai's expression immediately froze. Soon after, his face abruptly darkened as he loudly roared, "Fuck! Since you're already married, why did you come out to flirt and seduce Benshao? Why didn't you stay at home and take care of your son? Why did you come out to show off your white legs? Why are you shaking your butt? Why are you shaking your chest?" Mu Sanyang was stunned by Wang Kai's barrage of words. She had wanted to sound out the backing behind Wang Kai, but she had been taught a lesson instead. There was also the mention of her husband who deserved to die by 1,000 knives. Indeed, it made Mu Sanyang laugh in her heart. "Little brother, you may not know this, but my heartless husband deserves to die. As the domain lord of the 6th region, he forced Third Mother to marry him. Fortunately, Third Mother has some ability, so he didn't take advantage of me. But every month, I have to face that disgusting man and run the romantic pavilion to earn some sky spirit stones to buy weapons for him. It's really hard on me." Mu Sanyang turned around and poured out her grievances. In the end, tears fell from the corners of her eyes. That sorrowful look was simply enough to make one cry. However, Mu Sanyang seemed to be complaining. However, there was an important point in his words. Her husband was the dominator of the 6th domain. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. He did not care whether she was telling the truth or not, but it was a joke to use the Bullsh *T governor of the sixth domain to threaten him. Since she wanted to play, he would play with her. He was not afraid of her. Thinking of this, Wang Kai immediately became furious. He took the opportunity to reach out and accurately grabbed Mu Sanyang's soft, jade-like hand. Her smooth, soft, jade-like hand made Wang Kai's heart melt. He was even more determined to get his hands on the other parts of her body. What? How can there be such a dirty and shameless man in this world? Dominator of the sixth domain? Don't worry, I am. Ahem, anyway, take your time to think about it. Ben Shao will only give you 3 days. As long as you obey Ben Shao, haha, there is nothing in Tianzhou that cannot be solved. There is no one that cannot be killed. Wang Kai pretended to be flustered and changed his words halfway. He even took the opportunity to let go of Mu Sanyang's soft, jade-like hand. He was obviously pretending to be calm and made a promise. Seeing this, Mu Sanyang was furious. She was about to find out which faction he belonged to, but at the critical moment, he decided to take back his words. Damn little bastard, you wasted my hand just now. Mu Sanyang gritted her teeth and cursed in her heart. But no matter what, Mu Sanyang was very sure that the force behind Wang Kai was terrifyingly powerful. A force that could look down on the dominator of the sixth domain and even dare to threaten to kill him in the whole of Tianzhou. Apart from the dominators of the other 5 domains, there were only the top 3 forces. The Empyrean Palace, the Netherworld, the Heavenly Martial Palace. Which force did he belong to? Why did he come to the sixth domain? Looking at Mu Sanyang's pained expression, Wang Kai was speechless. He thought to himself, life is really tiring when you think too much. If it were him, he would destroy them first, no matter what force they belonged to. However, Wang Kai thought that Mu Sanyang was so afraid of death. He didn't know if she was afraid of death, but he didn't rule out the possibility that there was something important that she needed to protect. The power to protect was the strongest in the world, and it was also the most respectable. All right, hurry up and lead the way. This young master's time is very precious. If I waste this time, I don't know how many beautiful women are still thinking of this young master with tears in their eyes. Wang Kai shrugged and said with an impatient expression, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang pursed her red lip. She was extremely disdainful. It was only a few breaths of time, but he said it was a long time, and this, little brother, if you treat Sanyang like this, I'm afraid you'll anger the territorial lord in the 6th region. If you manage to escape, Sanyang will be in trouble. Mu Sanyang gritted her teeth as she probed, unwilling to give up. If the force behind Wang Kai wasn't one of the top 3 forces, Mu Sanyang would definitely punish him severely. If it wasn't even one of the top 10 forces, he could only count himself lucky if he died. Escape? You think Ben Shao will escape? Haha, I'm not afraid to tell you that even if the protectorate leader of the 6th domain comes, he will have to kneel on the ground, kowtow 3 times and say, I'm honored by your presence, Master Kai. Wang Kai shrugged and sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang furrowed her brows. Although she was still suspicious of Wang Kai's identity, the key point was that he was too good at bragging. Now that she had heard Wang Kai's bragging, she didn't believe him. If he has been bragging to me from the beginning to the end, then I will definitely make him suffer all kinds of torment. Damn him! Mu Sanyang gritted her teeth and scolded. Smack! All of a sudden, while Mu Sanyang was lost in her thoughts and was caught off guard, Wang Kai grabbed hold of her plump buttocks. The fat on her buttocks jiggled from the slap. The softness and elasticity of her buttocks was enough to make one go crazy. Especially when one looked at the rolling waves, it made one's imagination run wild. She couldn't wait to take him on the spot. Mu Sanyang, you're really provoking Benshao to commit a crime. I'll shorten the 3 days. I'll only give you 1 day, no, half a day, or 6 hours. Otherwise, the entire 6th domain will cease to exist, much less the domain master of the 6th domain. Wang Kai said proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Chapter 690. 6 hours. If I don't agree, the 6th domain will cease to exist? Mu Sanyang panicked. Wang Kai was only in his 20s, but he was able to reach the Heavenly Lord realm, which would take others hundreds or even thousands of years to reach. It was impossible for him to have such talent without the support of a powerful force. Moreover, he dared to rob the Romantic Floor's cargo ship and declared that he was not afraid of the protectorate leader of the 6th domain. With all these clues, Mu Sanyang did not dare to do anything to Wang Kai. Little brother, do you know why the 6th domain is called the chaotic domain? Although the protectorate leader of the 6th domain is not as powerful as the other protectorate leaders, he can control the 6th domain, which has the most powerful experts. Haha, do you know the reason? Mu Sanyang's body trembled slightly. She turned around and said with an inexplicable smile on her face. Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes narrowed. Naturally, he knew that Mu Sanyang was testing him again. Testing left and right, testing right and left. It was really annoying. Wang Kai sneered and said, "Cut the crap. You can control whoever you want. Benshao, I'll give you 6 hours to think about it. If you can't do it, you can wait for your death." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Wait for my death? How could he be so shameless? Hearing this, Mu Sanyang frowned and was speechless for a while. If you can kill me, or if you're so powerful, why threaten me? You can do it by force. Mu Sanyang laughed scornfully. Swoosh. As soon as these words were spoken, Wang Kai immediately frowned and laughed with a dark expression. Fine, fine, fine. Since you like to force things, then this young master will fulfill your wish. It's just a pity about the 6th region. Forget it, if it's destroyed, then so be it. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Buzz. As Wang Kai closed his eyes, waves of power flowed out from his body. Such a scene caused Mu Sanyang's heart to skip a beat. She clenched her teeth in panic, wanting to see if Wang Kai was bluffing. Wasn't he trying to summon the experts behind him? Come to the 6th domain quickly and destroy it, swoosh. When Wang Kai opened his mouth to speak, Mu Sanyang finally could not endure it any longer. She immediately extended her soft jade-like hand and grabbed Wang Kai's arm as she hurriedly said, "Let Sanyang consider for 6 hours." Buzz. Hearing this, Wang Kai laughed disdainfully. With a flip of his hand, he pulled Sanyang's jade-like hand to the side and laughed coldly. "I'm very sorry, but this young master is no longer in the mood to waste useless time with you. As long as this young master says the word, haha, you will see an extremely terrifying scene." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Bang. No, suddenly, Mu Sanyang let out a cry of surprise. She opened her arms and hugged Wang Kai. She even pressed her large chest against Wang Kai's chest. Wang Kai secretly exclaimed in pleasure at the softness of her breasts. "Humph, I gave you a chance and you didn't want it. You only woke up at the critical moment. Damn woman, you deserve a beating." Wang Kai's face was still as cold as ice. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and slapped Mu Sanyang's buttock. "Pa." Papa. Looking at the rolling waves of flesh and the pleasure coming from his palm, Wang Kai suddenly wanted to do her on the spot. Especially when he heard Mu Sanyang's soft moans. He couldn't stop himself. I still don't know your name. Mu Sanyang gritted her teeth, her eyes filled with helplessness. If she wasn't afraid of Wang Kai doing something to the sixth region, she wouldn't have had to compromise like this. It would be too difficult for Wang Kai to defeat Mu Sanyang. On the other hand, such a situation, in Wang Kai's eyes, was quite pleasant. No matter how powerful the sixth region was, as long as there were people or forces in Tianzhou who could destroy it, it would be enough. If the sixth region was so powerful that no one could defeat them, Wang Kai wouldn't be able to threaten Mu Sanyang. Well, Benxiao's reputation is too strong, so I'm using an alias for the time being. I'll just call myself Wang Kai. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 4th level of Heavenly Lord Realm. Wang Kai. Alias? Mu Sanyang's eyes flashed as she thought to herself. In the top 10 forces in Tianzhou, there were many who had reached the Heavenly Lord Realm at the same age as Wang Kai. However, there were very few who were so powerful that they could destroy the sixth region. She just had to check and everything would be clear. Thinking of this, Mu Sanyang became even more obedient to Wang Kai. As long as he didn't take advantage of her, she could only endure small conflicts. If she really angered Wang Kai and attracted countless powerful people, wouldn't it be too late? Damn you, little bastard. If I find out that you're not as strong as you said, I'll make you pay 1,000 times over. Mu Sanyang thought to herself viciously. Ever since she started cultivating, she had never been taken advantage of even when she was married to the governor of the sixth region. But now, she was being taken advantage of by a kid in his 20s. What was worse was that he wanted to take her virginity. Damn it. Seeing how obedient Mu Sanyang was, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and laughed to himself. You're a woman, but you're able to make it this far in the sixth region. Do you think Benxiao will believe you if you don't have some skills? Since you want to play, Benxiao will play with you. Wang Kai, let's go back to the romantic floor and do that. Mu Sanyang clenched her teeth and forced a smile. Do what? When Wang Kai heard this, his eyebrows immediately twitched. He used his hand to knead her plump buttocks, and his expression was rather playful as he said with a smile, "What is that?" To be clear, Benxiao is still a virgin. He doesn't understand. But you're in luck. There aren't many boys as innocent as Benxiao. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Innocent? A virgin? And a boy? Let's go back. Mu Sanyang's red lips twitched as she laughed dryly. She really couldn't do anything to a weirdo like Wang Kai. Sometimes, she couldn't even keep up with his thoughts. This kind of person looked very foolish, but in reality, he was very strong. Chapter 691. Windflower City. It was located 300 miles to the west of the ferry. It was an area without any signs of human habitation. There was only an endless desert on fire and trees that were still burning. As for the Windflower City, it was also extremely huge. It was as if dozens of towns were connected together. It was as big as a kingdom. The number of residents in the city was even larger, enough to be counted in the hundreds of millions. As for the cultivators, they were as numerous as carps crossing the river. However, the weakest of them were at the Heavenly General Realm. There was not a single Heavenly Soldier Realm expert here. For example, there were a few Heavenly Lord Realm experts from time to time. Although the ones above that were rarely seen, they did exist in the city. Wang Kai followed Mu Sanyang and stepped into the air. Looking at the huge city below, he was deeply shocked for a moment. Sanyang, do you have the final say in such a big city? You're pretty awesome. Wang Kai squinted his eyes and smiled with a surprised expression. Just as Wang Kai had thought before, it was really hard to imagine how a woman could be so capable. No, in Windflower City, there are 2 city lords. Sanyang is just one of them. She is in charge of the left half of Windflower City, and the other city lord is in charge of the right half. Mu Sanyang gently shook her head and smiled. 2 city lords? Half each? Equally dividing the city? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and couldn't help but touch his nose. He glanced at the huge city and smiled faintly. This city is really not bad. It is prosperous enough. There are many cultivators. There are also many beauties. How about this? Ben Shao will deal with you later, then contact the other city lord and tell him to get lost. This city is for Ben Shao. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Swoosh. As soon as he said that, Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes flickered. She nodded slightly and smiled sweetly. Wang Kai, if you want to do that, you'd better go to that lonely road now. And he had to go there personally? Wang Kai was extremely disdainful when he heard this. He shrugged and said with an indifferent expression, in this world, the person who can make Ben Shao take the initiative to look for has not been born yet. Moreover, if he doesn't come, it's fine. Someone will bring him here. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Did someone use the lone path to come here? Hearing this, Mu Sanyang blinked her beautiful eyes. Could it be that there was someone secretly following him? In that case, the powerful figure he wanted to summon earlier was in the 6th domain? Furthermore, he was secretly following and protecting Wang Kai. Whoosh. Thinking of this, Mu Sanyang's expression changed. If the strong cultivator in the dark really appeared, would Windflower City still have a good future? Once the strong cultivator who could threaten the 6th domain took action, the consequences would be unimaginable. Don't. You don't understand what I mean. I'm saying that there is someone with a strange temper in the lone path. He never steps out of the house. No matter who it is, even if it's the domain leader, if they need him, they have to take the initiative to look for him, Mu Sanyang said worriedly. She was afraid that Wang Kai would really find out who the strong cultivator in the dark was. Strange temper. Wang Kai did not give any face when he heard this. He put his hands behind his back and said with disdain, it's true that he has a temper, but if he wants to throw a tantrum at Ben Shao, he's courting death. Also, don't call me third mother. Whose mother are you? Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. No, third. I mean there is a cripple in the lone path. Although he can walk in the air with his cultivation, he still doesn't want to go out. Mu Sanyang covered her face and tried to hold back her laughter. F***ck. He's a cripple. A cripple can become half of the governor of Windflower City. Bastard, what a bastard. He's just a cripple. How can any normal person live in this world? No, Ben Shao must make him leave the position of the governor. Wang Kai shrugged and pretended to be angry. Swoosh. Seeing Wang Kai so angry, Mu Sanyang was speechless. However, she was still very happy. As long as she could ignite the fire of hatred between Wang Kai and the Lone Path, she would be able to control Windflower City. Even if Wang Kai had his eyes on Windflower City, what could he do? As a disciple of a powerful force, how could he stay here for the rest of his life? As long as Wang Kai left, Mu Sanyang would be able to reap the benefits without doing anything. Thinking of this, Mu Sanyang covered her face and laughed coquettishly. You may not know this, but the cultivation of the Lone Path is no weaker than Mu Sanyang. What's the big deal? Send someone to tell him that this young master wants him to quickly come and kneel before me. If he is late, he can forget about mingling in this world in the future. There will be no place for him to survive." Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled casually. "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points." Swoosh. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang was even more delighted. However, when she thought of the expert who was secretly protecting Wang Kai, she could not help but frown. She said in a low voice, "But please don't summon other experts. If you do, Windflower City will be destroyed." "Oh, you're right. Then forget it. Ben Shao won't be interested in this shabby town. Let the cripple take charge. Let's go invade and have some fun." Swoosh. Suddenly, Wang Kai's tone changed, and he directly rejected the idea of seizing Windflower City. This situation caused Mu Sanyang's brain to crash. For a moment, she could not keep up with the situation and was stunned in mid-air. He just said that he wanted to destroy the lone path. Now, he suddenly gave up. What was going on? Could it be that he knew from the beginning that she was going to sow discord? Thinking of this, Mu Sanyang was furious. It could be said that she had been fooled by Wang Kai along the way. "What are you still looking at? Why aren't you taking this young master to the romantic floor?" Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and said with an impatient expression. Mu Sanyang came back to her senses when she heard this. Her eyes were full of anger as she stared at Wang Kai. She gritted her teeth and said, "Didn't you want to take over Windflower City? Didn't you want to destroy the cripple in the lone path? Can you be a little more civic-minded? He's already a cripple. Why are you still bullying him? It's just a shabby city. Whoever wants it can have it. As long as Benshao is willing, let alone a city, the entire 6th region will be Benshao's." Wang Kai curled his lips and said with disdain, "Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points." Swoosh. Mu Sanyang was dumbfounded when she heard that. Her forehead was covered in black lines. Who was the one who wanted to make life difficult for the cripple? Why was she the one who got herself into trouble now? Chapter 692. You're back, Sanyang. On the left side of Windflower City, in front of a pagoda-shaped building with a radius of hundreds of miles, which was 100 stories high, Mu Sanyang and Wang Kai stood side by side. A long line of waiters came out of the building and bowed with cupped fists, while the women bowed to greet them. As for the cultivation of these workers, the weakest was at the Heaven General realm. At first glance, there were nearly 1,000 of them. TSK. Fortunately, there are only so few of them. If there were tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of them, they would be more powerful than an extraordinary force. Wang Kai could not help but rub his nose and smack his lips. The waiters turned a deaf ear to him. They maintained a respectful posture and did not even dare to raise their heads. His expression was also extremely solemn. Seeing this, Wang Kai secretly praised her. Mu Sanyang lived up to her reputation in the 6th region. She was indeed capable. Haha, please don't laugh at me. However, they are only waiters on the 1st floor. There are 99 floors above them. Their cultivation levels are getting higher and higher. Mu Sanyang pursed her lips and giggled. As soon as she finished speaking, she swayed her slender waist and stepped into the building. At this moment, Wang Kai looked up in surprise. There were nearly 1,000 waiters on the 1st floor of 100 floors. 10 floors meant 10,000. 100 floors meant 100,000. The waiters on the lowest floor were at the Heavenly General level. What about those above them? 100,000 experts. In addition, Mu Sanyang was a Heavenly Reversal expert. She had already surpassed the Sky-Reaching Church. The Sky-Reaching Church had 2,500 experts. What about the romantic floor? Calm down. I have to calm down. The stronger the woman, the more Ben Shao likes to conquer her. How can I be frightened by such a small scene? Wang Kai shrugged and pretended to be calm. He smiled faintly and followed closely behind Mu Sanyang. Mu Sanyang had a clear view of this. Seeing Wang Kai enter the arena with the same expression, with disdain in his eyes, she felt even more vexed in her heart. The little bit of suspicion that remained was ruthlessly dispelled by Wang Kai. However, as Wang Kai followed behind Mu Sanyang, they slowly made their way to the second floor, the third, the fourth, all the way to the 99th floor, the waiters, the diners, the trading places, the auction places, the inns, the tea houses, and so on. From Heavenly General to Heavenly Prime, from Heavenly Prime to Heavenly King, from Heavenly King to Heavenly Monarch, from Heavenly Monarch to Heavenly Emperor, there were more and more of them. Furthermore, within the romantic floor, there were practically all kinds of business transactions. For example, there were clothing stores, medicine stores, pill stores, Tao magic stores, heaven martial arts stores, pawn shops, auctions, places to eat, drink, play, cultivation, and other resources. The 99 floors had never been repeated. There was simply everything one could wish for. Fortunately, the Heavenly Emperor Realm powerhouses are already the top cultivation level of the waiters in the romantic floor. Although there are 99 floors, the number of Heavenly Emperors guarding each floor is slightly different. Wang Kai secretly comforted himself in his heart. From the 20th floor onwards, there were already Heavenly Emperors guarding it. On the 30th floor, there were already 30 Heavenly Emperors guarding it. On the 40th floor, there were 40. On the 50th floor, there were 50, until now, on the 99th floor, there were 99 Heavenly Emperors. The rest of the powerhouses were also Heavenly Monarch. There were close to 1,000 of them. They were all F***king waiters and waiters. Wang Kai was really curious. What kind of powerhouses would be on the 100th floor? What was the romantic floor's ranking among the 3,000 forces in the Tianzhou region? This is the House of Rare Treasures. Inside, there are treasures that all the cultivators in the 6th region and the other 5 regions yearn for even in their dreams. Young Master Kai, are you interested in trying your luck? Mu Sanyang blinked her beautiful eyes and smiled. Swoosh. Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyebrows suddenly raised, and he couldn't help but look over. Inside the large floor, it was like a library, and there were many wooden shelves arranged. Every wooden shelf was similar to the drawers of medicine boxes in pharmacies. They were all sealed. There were also words carved on them. From 1 to thousands, there were close to 10,000. At this moment, there were tens of thousands of cultivators wandering between the wooden shelves. Every time they came to a sealed drawer, they would stop and frown as they pondered. Some would directly choose to open it, while others would shake their heads and move on to the next target. Chuyun Pavilion's pavilion master, Yu Kuan, opened the 39,597 treasure drawer and obtained a treasure, 1 breakthrough realm pill. Swoosh. Suddenly, following a Heavenly Emperor realm waiter's loud shout, all the powerhouses on the floor trembled. Their eyes widened as they looked around greedily. Among them, there were some cultivators who knew Yu Kuan and gradually approached him. Their gazes were also firmly fixed on him. Which one is Yu Kuan? Breakthrough Realm Pill. Does it mean that no matter what level one is at, it can directly raise one's cultivation level? Wang Kai asked in a daze. At first, he thought that this place was just a bluff. He did not expect that there was even a pill that could directly raise one's cultivation level. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang gently nodded. Her gaze swept across the waiter who had shouted just now. Under his guidance, she also learned of Yu Kuan's location and appearance. That's Yu Kuan. He spent 30 million celestial stones to obtain a breakthrough realm pill. He should be proud. You should know that this pill is priceless. Mu Sanyang raised her arm and pointed with a smile. Swoosh. Following Mu Sanyang's gaze, Wang Kai suddenly narrowed his eyes. What entered his eyes was a vigorous middle-aged man with murderous intent in his eyes. As for where his killing intent came from, Wang Kai was also extremely clear on. At this moment, there were hundreds of experts who knew Yu Kuan gathered around him. Gradually, the surrounding experts also sensed something and gradually gathered around. 30 million celestial stones, TSK. Let Ben Shao ask you a question. What are celestial stones? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled indifferently. Swoosh. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang's face suddenly froze. She looked at Wang Kai in a daze. Seeing his serious look, she was speechless for a moment. She thought that Wang Kai was fooling around. This question is not difficult for third. It's not difficult for me. Celestial stones contain a huge amount of heavenly power. It can allow a heavenly martial artist to quickly gather heavenly power and use it to break through a realm. 30 million celestial stones is not a lot, nor is it a little. It is enough for a heavenly monarch to break through a small realm. As for the breakthrough realm pill, it can allow an expert below the heavenly reversal realm to break through a small realm, or even an entire realm. Mu Sanyang pursed her lips and smiled. The heavenly power contained in 30 million celestial stones could only allow a heavenly monarch to break through one of the 9 small realms. Hearing this, Wang Kai suddenly understood why Mu Sanyang said that Yu Kuan had gotten a great deal. 30 million celestial stones could only allow one to break through to the heavenly monarch realm and below. However, the breakthrough realm pill was the heavenly reversal realm, which was above the heavenly emperor realm. It could allow one to break through any small realm, or even an entire realm. Chapter 693. Such a treasure, it's not bad. Sanyang, give me 1,800 of them. Well, when I'm free, I can eat them like candy balls and play with them. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather indifferent smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. 1,800. Eat them like candy? Black lines appeared on Mu Sanyang's forehead as she listened to Wang Kai's words. She had the urge to skin Wang Kai alive. Even heavenly return realm experts would fight over the first stage breakthrough pill. He actually wanted to eat candy. He even wanted 1,800 of them. Young Master Kai, don't joke around. Even Sanyang wants to know about the breakthrough pill. If Sanyang hadn't reached the peak of the heavenly return realm, she wouldn't have been able to obtain any effects from this pill. Why would she take it out for the experts of the 6 domains to choose from? Mu Sanyang shook her head and smiled. The peak of the heavenly return realm. Was she about to enter the next mystery realm? This woman was indeed strong. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and took out his fan. He shook his head and smiled at Yu Kuan in the distance. Brother Yu, why don't you give the breakthrough pill to Ben Shao? Look at you, you can't even protect it. Why do you have to be so pretentious and hold on to it? Whoosh. These words immediately caused Yu Kuan's face to darken. He turned his head and used an icy cold gaze to sweep across Wang Kai in disdain. Then, he directly threw the black medicinal pill towards Wang Kai. Take it if you want it. My Chuyanj pavilion won't be willing to be the lackey of the romantic floor just for a pill. Yu Kuan sneered with disdain. Lackey? What was going on? Clatter. With a flip of his hand, Wang Kai held the black pellet between his fingers. He turned to look at Mu Sanyang curiously and asked in surprise, "What does he mean by that?" However, at this moment, Mu Sanyang's face was frosty. Her eyes were filled with killing intent as she stared at Yu Kuan. She didn't hear Wang Kai's question at all. Bastard! Yu Kuan, you may not be willing, but we are. Why did you give it to that lady boss's friend? That's right. Damn you! Chuyan Pavilion isn't willing to join the Romantic Flower Snow Moon Pavilion. If you didn't reach the peak stage of the Heaven Monarch realm, do you think you are qualified to enter this floor? Humph, Chuyun Pavilion is filled with trash disciples. Only you are worthy of my attention. I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful. In an instant, Mu Sanyang, who originally had an ugly expression on her face, pursed her lips into a silent smile as the angry cultivators berated her one after another. This scene naturally fell into Wang Kai's eyes. It could be seen that Mu Sanyang still hoped that Chuyun Pavilion would join the romantic flower Snow Moon Pavilion. Being at the peak stage of the Heaven Monarch realm, and having a straight breakthrough pellet, Yu Kuan could easily enter the Heavenly Emperor realm. Although he wasn't the only one in the romantic flower Snow Moon Pavilion, he was still one of the top experts. Shut up, all of you. I, Yu Kuan, have cultivated for 103 years until now and have never been anyone's lackey. Moreover, you want to make me, Yu Kuan, bow down to you with just a mere medicinal pill? You're simply dreaming. Yu Kuan said with a disdainful sneer. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu Kuan flung his sleeves and left the area of the wooden shelf. He turned and went to another area. Seeing this, the crowd could only grit their teeth. They hated Yu Kuan to the core. Unfortunately, the straight breakthrough pellet was already in Wang Kai's hands. Moreover, he was standing with Mu Sanyang. It could be seen that the young man was Mu Sanyang's friend. None of the cultivators present dared to fight for the pellet. In the end, they could only shake their heads and leave unwillingly. This Yu Kuan has some backbone. Haha, I hope he can reach the Heavenly Emperor realm with his own strength. When that time comes, he will be of great use to the romantic flower Snow Moon Pavilion. Mu Sanyang covered her face and laughed. It had been 103 years since he started cultivating. To be able to reach the Heavenly Lord realm, his talent was indeed not weak in Tianzhou. Wang Kai shrugged and threw the pellet on the ground. He put his hands behind his back and smiled faintly. Haha, it seems that the romantic flower Snow Moon Pavilion has a lot of tricks up its sleeves. Swoosh. Seeing this, Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes suddenly shrank. Her face was full of surprise as she asked, "Don't you want this pellet? Why did you throw it on the ground?" At the same time, some of the experts in the distance also saw this scene. They all swallowed their saliva and wanted to go forward to pick it up. However, they didn't dare to get close. After all, Wang Kai and Mu Sanyang were standing together. How could they go forward so easily? At this moment, they could only watch from afar. Haha, it's just a pellet. Ben Shao doesn't care about it. Do you know that when Ben Shao was a child, he had already created the 10,000 realm pellet? Wang Kai curled his lips and smiled proudly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. 10,000. Realm pellet. Created when he was a child? Such words made everyone's face stiffen. Even their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Even Mu Sanyang could no longer maintain her composure. She blurted out, F*CKU. I'll F*CKU up. Can you stop bragging? Looking at Mu Sanyang, who burst out with vulgarities, Wang Kai was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect this woman to have such a side to her. He didn't know that it was completely out of anger. When faced with a weirdo like Wang Kai, even a lady would be angered to the point of turning into a female dinosaur. Mu Sanyang, who gave you the courage to curse at Ben Shao? Smack. Suddenly, Wang Kai's face darkened. He raised his hand and slapped Mu Sanyang's buttocks with unerring accuracy. The rolling waves of flesh, as well as the soft touch, made Wang Kai ecstatic to the extreme. Encountering such a beautiful woman, he wouldn't get tired even if he tried 1,000 times. However, such a scene caused everyone present to be dumbfounded in unison. Especially those Heavenly Emperor Realm shop assistants. They were even frightened until their faces turned pale, directly falling to the ground. They couldn't believe that there was someone in this world who dared to do such a thing to Mu Sanyang. Moreover, He didn't care who was in front of them. Wasn't this embarrassing for Mu Sanyang? Even if they had a special relationship, couldn't they hide it from others? Even the domineering Mu Sanyang felt her cheeks burning under everyone's gaze. But soon, she regained her composure. She covered her face and laughed coquettishly. Oh, young Master Kai, there are people watching. Stop fooling around, okay? Wang Kai shrugged and laughed heartily. Yo, little wench, you're still acting coquettishly. Hurry up and bring Ben Shao to the 100th floor. Oh, and find a private room. Ben Shao wants to show off his domineering and heaven-defying divine skill. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 5th level Heavenly Lord realm. Chapter 694. Bastard. Even if you are a direct disciple of the Empyrean Palace, you can't behave so atrociously in the romantic floor. Bang. Suddenly, just as Mu Sanyang was in a dilemma, the door of a room in the inner section opened abruptly, followed by an earth-shattering roar. Bang, bang, bang. At the same time, dozens of doors opened one after another. Following that, cultivators walked out one after another. Their strength and cultivation were all in the Heavenly Core realm. Among them, there were 7 or 8 upper Heavenly Core realm cultivators. There were even 2 peak Heavenly Core realm cultivators. Looking at these burly men, Wang Kai could not help but frown. He touched his nose and asked curiously with a smile, Sanyang, are these people your suitors? Can't they be more humane? Swoosh. As soon as he said that, the cultivators who heard him frowned and revealed their murderous intent. Especially when they saw Mu Sanyang pursing her lips into a smile, the cultivators became even more enraged. Bastard! No matter what status you have in the Empyrean Palace, you will die here today. That's right. In order to protect Lady Boss, we are willing to kill you. In an instant, many cultivators began to berate her. After they finished speaking, they looked at Mu Sanyang with eyes that were eager to be praised. At this moment, Mu Sanyang's eyes were filled with gratitude. She turned to look at the closed doors of the rooms and revealed a sad expression. Kill. We will protect Lady Boss with our lives. Swoosh. Seeing Mu Sanyang's reaction, the cultivators waved their hands and activated their Dao Will, attacking Wang Kai together. TSK. Bitch, are you trying to play dirty with Ben Shao? Why don't you see how many hairs you have? Wang Kai curled his lips in disdain and waved his hand. Grand summoning skill, Sha Wujing. Congratulations to the host for successfully summoning Sha Wujing. 2,000 bragging points have been consumed. Buzz. As the notification sound faded, the void in front of Wang Kai was torn apart. A man in a Buddhist robe and holding the Silver Moon Demon subduing staff appeared. He looked honest and honest. TSK. Which demon dares to attack this monk in broad daylight? 1. Bang. Wah! Suddenly, Sha Wujing hollered. Shortly after, he swung the demon subduing staff and directly reflected the Tao intents of the numerous cultivators. Along with those cultivators, they vomited blood and fell to the ground. Human? Mortal? However, after Sha Wujing repelled the strong enemies, he suddenly reacted, especially when he saw that those who were injured were all humans. A compassionate and sinful expression appeared on his face. Amiba, good. This little monk made a mistake, please. Bang! However, before Sha Wujing could finish his words, he was slapped by Wang Kai and almost fell to the ground. I hope you still have hope. Since you're already here, why don't you throw those scum out? Wang Kai said with a black face and a speechless expression. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have summoned Sha Wujing. He was too honest and too kind. With his simple and honest character, it was impossible for him to listen to everything he said. Ba, benefactor, why are you doing this to this little monk? Bang! Patter, just as Wang Kai turned his hand and wanted to give another slap, his palm was blocked by Sha Wujing and held in his hand. Ba, benefactor, this little monk, suppress! Upon seeing this, Wang Kai was so angry that his mouth and eyes turned askew. Without any explanation, he activated his mind and suppressed Sha Wujing with the system. Master, I'm late, please forgive me. Suddenly, Sha Wujing, who had his palms together, knelt down on one knee with his eyes lifeless. His tone was extremely respectful as he asked for forgiveness. This is not bad. Quickly throw those scum out of here. The door is behind Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Yes, master. Whoosh. As soon as his voice fell, Sha Wujing's figure moved. He waved the demon-subduing staff and swept all the cultivators away from the ground. No matter how they struggled, they couldn't move at all. Buzz. Bang. As Sha Wujing easily passed through the golden door, Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and said indifferently, Sanyang, do you know your crime? Whoosh. As soon as these words came out, Mu Sanyang, who was in a state of shock, instantly recovered. Her beautiful face became pale and stiff. She pursed her lips and laughed dryly. Young Master Kai, Sanyang doesn't know what you're talking about. You don't know? Hee, you can't do anything to the force behind Ben Shao, so you want your pursuers to kill Ben Shao. In this way, even if an expert comes to question you, they can't find you, Mu Sanyang, right? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sneered disdainfully. Whoosh. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang's pretty face changed again and again. She bit her red lips and didn't know what to do for a moment. Indeed, Wang Kai was right. Mu Sanyang wanted to kill someone with a borrowed knife and get rid of Wang Kai. However, she didn't expect Wang Kai to know the great summoning technique. He even summoned the expert who was guarding him to the 100th floor of the romantic floor. Even the peak heavenly revolving realm cultivators couldn't withstand a single blow. Young Master Kai, please don't misunderstand. Sanyang didn't know they would be so impulsive and dare to attack you, young Master Kai. Mu Sanyang's eyes flickered as she said repeatedly. Wang Kai didn't give her any face. He immediately stretched out his hand and pinched Mu Sanyang's chin with his fingers. He smiled mockingly and said, Mu Sanyang, if it weren't for your beauty, not to mention the romantic floor, even the 6th region would have disappeared in an instant. Do you know that? Plop. As soon as he said this, Mu Sanyang was so frightened that her delicate body trembled and she fell to the ground unsteadily. Her eyes were filled with regret as her delicate body trembled. Previously, when Wang Kai said this, Mu Sanyang might have doubted it. However, when Sha Wujing appeared, there was no longer any possibility of doubt. Cultivation beyond the peak heavenly revolving realm was the same level as a territorial lord. In fact, Sha Wujing was even stronger than a territorial lord. Bastard! I, Mu Wanwan, won't allow you to bully my elder sister. Golyalu, suddenly, Wang Kai heard a delicate voice angrily rebuking. Wang Kai was startled, and when he turned his head to look, his pupils suddenly shrank. At the other end of the corridor, there was a young woman in a wheelchair. She was approaching at an incredible speed. The woman looked very similar to Mu Sanyang. The only difference was that one was charming and the other was clear and bright. Especially that pair of big watery eyes. When they looked at each other, it was as if she could see through everything. Even Wang Kai felt a sense of fear in his heart. Chapter 695. Mu Wanwan? Sister? Mu Sanyang's sister? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and stared at Mu Wanwan for a moment before he quickly averted his gaze. For some unknown reason, those eyes, which seemed to be able to see through everything, caused people to feel deep fear. As the saying goes, a guilty conscience is not afraid of ghosts knocking on the door. Unfortunately, Wang Kai admitted that he had done too many bad things. Wan, why are you out? Go back. Don't disturb young Master Kai. Swoosh. Mu Sanyang's expression turned anxious. She hurriedly stepped forward and blocked Mu Wanwan's wheelchair. Sister, you don't have to worry about me and let this big pervert take advantage of me. I've lived for thousands of years without cultivating. I've had enough, Mu Wanwan said with red eyes. She had lived for thousands of years without cultivating? F***ck. Little girl, you're really good at bragging. Wang Kai suddenly grinned and even gave her a thumbs up. He didn't know how long a Lord of Heaven Realm cultivator could live, but it was definitely no less than 5,000 years. But this little girl said that she had lived for thousands of years without cultivating. How could those cultivators, who cultivated all day long, feel at ease? I, Mu Wanwan, have lived for thousands of years and have never lied. You don't know that because you're ignorant. Mu Wanwan sneered with disdain. Buzz. Wang Kai couldn't help but be startled. He quickly waved his hand and sent out a wave of Dao Will. Under his probing, he found that Mu Wanwan had no cultivation at all. Young Master Kai, I was born with the longevity body. Even if I don't cultivate, I can live for 10,000 years. Swoosh. Before Mu Sanyang could finish her words, Wang Kai was already in shock. His body flickered again and again until he was in front of Mu Wanwan. He raised his hand and put it on her forehead. You, Wanwan. Mu Wanwan saw that she couldn't resist and was about to scold him, but she was stopped by Mu Sanyang's helpless pleading eyes. Although Wang Kai's cultivation wasn't strong, the powerhouse he had summoned was too strong. It could be said that as long as one angered Wang Kai, even if the forces behind him didn't make a move, just the grand summoning technique alone would be enough to turn the romantic floor into ashes. In Mu Sanyang's heart, the person she wanted to protect the most was Mu Wanwan. Now that she was in front of Wang Kai, Mu Sanyang was even more afraid to go against Wang Kai. His soul is normal. No, it seems to be missing a little. What's going on? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and asked with a surprised expression. Could it be that the formation of the longevity body was due to the fact that it had a little less soul than an ordinary person? Wasn't this a little too unconvincing? No, it's not like that. Wanwan secretly cultivated behind my back in her early years, which led to her crippled legs and incomplete spirit. Mu Sanyang whispered with reddened eyes. He had forcefully cultivated in secret, resulting in his legs and soul being crippled? Upon hearing this, even Wang Kai was stunned. She can live for 10,000 years without cultivating. If she had cultivated, wouldn't she be like a tiger that had grown wings? You should be even more awesome. Why is it that, after you cultivate, you're even worse than a normal person? Wang Kai asked with a grin. Bastard! You are the abnormal one. A normal person wouldn't threaten a woman. Mu Wanwan scolded him. It was your sister who seduced Ben Shao. If it wasn't for her seduction in front of Ben Shao wouldn't have bothered with her. Wang Kai touched his nose and said casually, Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Nonsense, Mu Wanwan's face was full of anger, but as soon as she opened her mouth, Mu Sanyang gently covered her mouth again. Looking at Mu Sanyang's teary eyes, Mu Wanwan pursed her lips tightly and lowered her head, not daring to say another word. Young Master Kai, let's go somewhere else. Mu Sanyang pursed her lips and whispered. At this point, Mu Sanyang had already accepted her fate. There was no way she could resist Wang Kai. A futile struggle would only lead to uncontrollable consequences. Sister, why don't you go to first master, second master, and third master? Mu Wanwan suddenly said angrily. Although Mu Sanyang was doing this to protect her, she still felt very angry. She didn't want to implicate Mu Sanyang like this. First master, Second master, third master? Wang Kai was stunned when he heard this. He touched his nose and smiled curiously. You have quite a lot of masters. Is there anyone with the surname Kong? Kong? Bastard. My first master is the famous god of slaughter, Xiang Wentian. Second master is also the second most powerful person in the 5th region. Bone Emperor, third master. Enough. Wanwan, that's enough. Before Mu Wanwan could finish, Mu Sanyang waved her hand and interrupted her. Why don't you say it? No matter how powerful he is definitely no match for our 3 masters. Mu Wanwan scolded loudly. Swoosh. Suddenly, Wang Kai put his hands behind his back and said with a rather indifferent expression, You're looking down on this young master too much. Even if you have an outstanding appearance and an enchanting temperament, this young master still won't easily submit. Yes, of course, a great and righteous figure like this young master won't threaten you or anything. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Swoosh. As soon as he said this, Third Lady Mu and Mu Wanwan's expressions froze. They couldn't believe that Wang Kai would say something like this. Righteous? Did not know how to threaten? Then what did he do before this? Young Master Kai, don't be angry. Wait for me to send Wanwan back. Mu Sanyang pursed her lips and turned to push the wheelchair away. During this process, she no longer twisted her body. The seductive temperament from before had completely disappeared. What replaced it was endless loneliness and helplessness. Slap. Wang Kai frowned when he saw this. He immediately stepped forward and slapped Mu Sanyang. Mu Sanyang shuddered from the slap. Young Master Kai, you... Mu Sanyang bit her red lips. Her face was so red that it looked like it was going to bleed. It was hard for her to pretend to be calm when Wang Kai took advantage of her in front of Mu Wanwan. Bastard! I'm going to kill you! Mu Wanwan flew into a rage at once. She turned around and reached out her hand to tear Wang Kai's clothes. Little girl, Ben Shao is just telling your sister that she can't be dejected. She has to face it bravely and take responsibility. Besides, Ben Shao really has no interest in your sister. There are so many beautiful women in the world. How could Ben Shao be interested in your sister? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Chapter 696. Well, Wanwan, young Master Kai has said that he won't do anything to me. Don't worry. Come, I'll take you back to rest, Mu Sanyang said, pursing her lips. Whoosh. As soon as she finished speaking, Mu Sanyang remained silent and pushed the wheelchair with a firm attitude, regardless of Mu Wanwan's dissatisfaction. Soon, Mu Sanyang and Mu Wanwan's figures disappeared at the end of the corridor. Wang Kai couldn't help but touch his nose. He shook his head helplessly and sighed. Ben Shao has already said that he won't do anything to her, but she still doesn't believe him. The overly kind Ben Shao is really not a good thing in this world where the strong prey on the weak. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Bang! Haha, may I know your name? I'm the young master of the 6th region's Fierce Blade sect, Lai Xiaodao. Suddenly, a door opened and an old man stepped out. He had a gentle smile on his face and looked sincerely at Wang Kai. The old man wore a long white robe and had an emerald green longsword at his waist. Although he looked old, his body was still quite strong and healthy. However, when Wang Kai saw his appearance, the corner of his mouth twitched violently. Young master? Lai Xiaodao? You're already so old, and you're still calling it little? Young my ass. Can you not suddenly come out to disgust Ben Shao? Only a handsome young master like Ben Shao, who is 16 or 17 years old, is qualified to be called young. Do you understand? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled disdainfully. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! When he heard this, Lai Xiaodao's face suddenly stiffened. He stared blankly at Wang Kai and didn't know what to say for a moment. Encountering such a weirdo who slandered others the moment he spoke, anyone would lose face. Under such circumstances, many experts who wanted to come out and befriend Wang Kai could not help but close their doors. To curry favor and take the initiative to befriend, it all depended on whether the other party was willing or not. He had been slapped in the face, yet he still hadn't succeeded in befriending him. Wouldn't that be embarrassing? Lai Xiaodao was now filled with regret. If he hadn't come out now, even if he had 10,000 guts, he wouldn't be willing to come out and look for trouble. Unfortunately, things had already come to this point. If they still failed to befriend him, then they would definitely become a laughingstock in the future. Thinking of this, Lai Xiaodao cupped his fists and bowed with a smile. Brother is really humorous. Xiaodao admires you. Humorous, Wang Kai curled his lips when he heard that. He put his hands behind his back and walked in front of him. He pointed at the room and asked curiously, "Is this room yours?" Whoosh! Hearing this, Lai Xiaodao was taken aback. He didn't know what Wang Kai meant, but on second thought, could it be that he wanted to go in and have a chat? If so, wouldn't he have succeeded in befriending him? Even the romantic floor didn't dare to touch him. If he succeeded in befriending him, then the Ardent Blade sect would definitely rise. Yes, it's Xiaodao's room. However, when Lai Xiaodao hurriedly extended his hand to signal, he saw Wang Kai walk into the room without even acknowledging him. Bang! Immediately after, the doors were tightly closed. Well, you can stay outside for a while. Ben Shao will be using your room. Hearing Wang Kai's last words, Lai Xiaodao's face was already distorted. The veins on his forehead were bulging as he froze on the spot. Hee, ha ha. Wah ha ha ha. In an instant, the surrounding doors opened one by one. After a series of laughter, they quickly closed again. However, as the person involved, Lai Xiaodao naturally knew what such laughter meant. Immediately, his face flushed red as he waved his sleeves. For a moment, he was extremely ashamed and angry. At the same time, Wang Kai, who was sitting on the stone bed in the room, slowly closed his eyes and used his mind to communicate with the system. Host, Wang Kai. Occupation, Heavenly Martial Artist Realm, 5th grade Heavenly Lord Dao Technique, Heavenly Dao Divine Ability, Luck Deprivation Technique, Great Summoning Technique Equipment, Ever-Changing Fan Heavenly Power, Level 5 Astral Origin Points, 0 Physique, Invulnerable Guardian Beast, None Bragging Points, 19900 Experience, 60000900000 Inch Heavenly Martial Technique. Whoosh! As Wang Kai's mind moved, a list suddenly appeared in front of him. On it, it was full of heavenly martial techniques. Moreover, the levels, from low to high, were extremely obvious. Heavenly martial techniques were divided into 9 levels. In order, they were Heavenly 1 Technique, Heavenly 2 Techniques, all the way to Heavenly 9 Technique. Similar to the Heavenly Martial Divine Weapon, each level could only be cultivated and used by cultivators of the corresponding cultivation realm. For example, Wang Kai was now in the Heavenly Lord realm and could only use the Heavenly 5 Technique. If he could break through to the Heavenly Emperor realm, he could use the Heavenly 6 Technique. Can I use the Heavenly Martial Techniques as I wish like before? Wang Kai frowned and asked with a rather surprised expression. Host, no restrictions can restrict you. The same is true for the system. As long as you have enough bragging points, you can cultivate and use them to kill enemies at any time. Whoosh! Hearing the notification, Wang Kai suddenly became excited. Without any explanation, he used his mind to open the list of Heavenly Nine technique. However, with one look, Wang Kai's face suddenly stiffened. Heavenly Nine techniques, each one requires 5,000 bragging points. F***CK. Why don't you rob me? Do you want me to vomit blood? The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched violently. His forehead was full of black lines as he used his mind to open the list of Heavenly Eight technique. However, the results were not much different. Each of the Heavenly Nine techniques required 5,000 bragging points. The Heavenly Eight techniques were only 1,000 bragging points less. If he wanted to cultivate them, he would need 4,000 bragging points. The Heavenly Seven techniques required 3,000 bragging points. The Heavenly Six techniques required 2,000 bragging points. The Heavenly Five techniques required 1,000 bragging points. With the bragging points I have now, I can cultivate a few of the Heavenly Nine technique. However, it would be a waste. Even if I have the Heavenly Nine techniques, I would not be able to defeat a Heavenly Emperor or Heavenly Reverse Realm Elite. If I am in danger and do not have enough bragging points to summon. Wang Kai muttered softly. Finally, he gritted his teeth and used his mind to say, Heavenly Nine techniques, exterminating thunder fire blade. Heavenly Five techniques, golden wind kick. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating Heavenly Nine techniques, exterminating thunder fire blade. 5,000 bragging points consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully cultivating Heavenly Five techniques, golden wind kick. 1,000 bragging points consumed. Congratulations to the host for successfully activating the Heavenly Martial technique. The system rewards the host with a 3 days pill. Host, Wang Kai occupation, Heavenly Martial Artist Realm, 5th Heavenly Lord Dao, Heavenly Martial Technique, Exterminating Thunder Fire Blade, Golden Wind Kick Divine Ability, Luck Deprivation Technique, Great Summoning Technique Equipment, Ever-Changing Fan, Pill of 3 Days Heavenly Power, Level 5 Astral Origin Points, 0 Body Constitution, Invulnerable Guardian Beast, None Bragging Points, 13900 Experience, 60000900000. 3 days pill. There's such a reward? Wang Kai casually glanced at the Heavenly Martial technique. He was not very curious about it. Only the 3 days pill made him speechless. Host, this 3 days pill can help you to be immortal for 3 days. No elite will be able to harm you. Limited to 1 use. Chapter 697. How could it be so powerful? Within 3 days, no one would be able to do anything to him, regardless of their cultivation level. Moreover, it was immortal. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai's expression froze. Soon after, joy flashed across his eyes. Such a powerful medicinal pill was truly awesome. That's not right. Even if it can be immortal and defend against any cultivator, in the end, Ben Shao still won't be able to do anything to the enemy. Isn't this just passively taking a beating? Thinking about it, Wang Kai's mouth couldn't help but twitch. He had to admit that the 3 days pill was indeed a godly tool for showing off. However, there was a price to pay for showing off, and that was to passively take a beating. If it was against cultivators that Wang Kai could kill, there was no need to use the 3 days pill. Forget it. Since it can save his life, it's not bad. When the time comes, even if I can't kill the enemy, it's still not bad to use the All-Being's Cleave and let him be a human stick. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a mocking expression. Host, Wang Kai Profession, Heavenly Martial Artist Realm, 5th Grade Heavenly Lord Path Technique, Heavenly Path Heavenly Martial Technique, Extermination Lightning Fire Blade, Golden Wind Kick Magic, Luck Deprivation Technique, Great Summoning Technique Equipment, Ever-Changing Fan, Pill of 3 Days Heavenly Power, Level 5 Astral Origin Points, 0 Physique, Invulnerable Guardian Spirit Beasts, None bragging points. 13900 experience. 6000009000000. Thinking about it, Wang Kai glanced at it again and activated his mind to close it. For the heavenly martial technique, he would temporarily use a heavenly 9 and a pretentious heavenly 5. Bragging points could only be used under special circumstances. Heavenly martial weapon. For someone as awesome as this young master, how can my equipment be bad? Wang Kai sat cross-legged on the stone bed and activated his mind to communicate with the system again. Now that he had the heavenly martial technique, he naturally couldn't lack the heavenly martial weapon. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. 1. With a thought, a screen appeared in front of him. On the screen, there was a list of all kinds of sky martial divine weapons. From the first level all the way to the 9th level, they had everything. Sabers, spears, staffs, axes, battle axes, hooks, tridents, and so on. However, the required bragging points also blinded Wang Kai's eyes. It was similar to the heavenly martial technique. A Tier 9 weapon would cost 5,000 bragging points. Wang Kai frowned. Initially, he wanted to equip himself, but now, the bragging points required to equip himself were simply too much. Forget it. Being in Jianghu, how can I not pay a price? Take the level 9 divine martial weapon, Heaven's Blade. Wang Kai gritted his teeth and shouted. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the level 9 divine weapon, Heaven's Blade. 5,000 bragging points have been consumed. Host, Wang Kai class, Heavenly Martial Artist Realm, 5th Stage Heavenly Monarch Dao Law, Heavenly Dao Heaven Martial Technique, Extermination Thunder Fire Blade, Golden Wind Kick Divine Powers, Luck Deprivation Skill, Great Summoning Skill Equipment, Ever-Changing Fan, 3 Days Pill, Heaven's Blade Heavenly Power, Level 5 Astral Origin Points, 0 Body Constitution, Invulnerable Guardian Spirit Beasts, None Bragging Points, 9,000 Experience, 7,000,009,000,000 Inch Ugh. I have almost 20,000 bragging points, and now I have used more than half of them. Forget it. Who asked Ben Shao to be so vain? No matter if it's bragging or bragging, he wants to be at the peak? Wang Kai shook his head and sighed. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. 1. Soon after, under the control of Wang Kai's mind, a large silver blade appeared in his hand. The blade was 6 feet long and 1 finger wide. There was a wind groove on the blade and a steel spike at the bottom of the handle. On the blade there were 3 big words carved on it. Heaven's Blade. Wang Kai's eyes bulged when he saw this. He couldn't help but rub his nose and praise. It is indeed a good blade. Heaven's Blade, cough cough, it is a perfect match for Ben Shao. He was born to be like Ben Shao, fighting the heavens when he has nothing to do. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through and reaching the 6th level of the Heavenly Lord Realm. Hearing the notification, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. He thought that if he continued to break through and reach the Heavenly Emperor Realm, he would be able to gain a firm foothold in the top 2,000 of the 3,000 forces. Host, Heaven's Armor, Heaven's Crown, if used together with the Heaven's Blade, can help you kill enemies 1 level higher. Suddenly, as the notification sounded, Wang Kai's pupils suddenly shrank. In Tianzhou, the 8 gates and other secret techniques that could violently increase one's combat strength had already lost their effectiveness. Only by using the heavenly power could one be able to kill enemies of a higher level. Now, hearing the notification, Wang Kai was suddenly very conflicted. There was naturally a pleasant surprise, but there was also a sadness. Buzz. Wang Kai urged his mind and glanced at the list of the so-called Heaven's Armor and Heaven's Crown. He saw that each one required 5,000 bragging points. 2 of them were 10,000 bragging points. Not to mention that the bragging points he had now were not enough to exchange. Even if he had enough, Wang Kai was really reluctant to part with them. Once the bragging points were used up, if he encountered a special situation, wouldn't he fail miserably? Sigh, it seems that Benshio's bragging is still too little. The bragging in the past was earth-shattering. Although the bragging now is still domineering and invincible, it is still too little. Wang Kai shrugged and sighed helplessly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. In the land of Tianzhou, Benshao really does not want to be too arrogant and domineering. As a person, one should know how to be humble and kind. Just like the matter with Lai Xiaodao just now, since he took the initiative to befriend Benshao, why should Benshao not give him face? Wang Kai shook his head and continued to speak. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Hearing Wang Kai's bragging, Lai Xiaodao, who was at the door, was already very sad. He secretly nodded with an aggrieved expression. Forget it, Benshao needs to learn to be low-key in the future. Well, bragging in silence is Benshao's specialty. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and smiled casually. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Bang 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 bang, ah! I can't take it anymore. I really can't take it anymore. He's so good at bragging. He's so hateful. He's bragging so much that I can't cultivate in peace. Damn it. In an instant, just as Wang Kai was about to open his mouth to brag again, the sound of doors exploding violently rang out one after another outside. What followed were the faces of the cultivators who were about to go crazy. Some of them even scratched their hair until it was a mess and their faces were ashen. It was fine that he was bragging, but what was infuriating was that he didn't stop bragging. He didn't even try to hide his voice. Even if every room had the power of soundproofing, it couldn't stop Wang Kai from deliberately letting everyone hear. OF*CK. It's your honor to hear Benshao's bragging. Not only did you not kneel down to thank him, you even dared to shout and brag in front of Benshao. Do you want to die? In the room, Wang Kai's face suddenly darkened. He immediately moved and pushed the door open. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Chapter 698. Didn't you just say that we should keep a low profile? Why now? Plop. In an instant, those cultivators who were shouting were so scared that they fell to the ground. Looking at Wang Kai's angry face, they were all scared out of their wits. Just now, they really couldn't hold back and scolded him impulsively. Keep a low profile? You've already scolded Benshao. Can you still keep a low profile at this time? For example, if Benshao kicks you, can you keep a low profile? Wang Kai cursed with a black face. As soon as his voice fell, he immediately kicked out fiercely. Bang! Wah! Suddenly, that cultivator was directly kicked out by Wang Kai and flew out while vomiting blood. He even slid to the end of the long corridor, clutching his chest as if he was going to die. I keep a low profile, bang! That cultivator said with great effort, then his head tilted and he directly fainted. You should keep a low profile because Benshao is stronger than you, stronger than all of you. Since that's the case, you know that you can't beat Benshao, but you still dare to act tough in front of Benshao. Tell me, are you idiots? Wang Kai frowned and sneered fiercely. Plop, many cultivators bent their legs and directly knelt on the ground. They held their fists and said in unison, "Please forgive us. We know we were wrong. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai was speechless. He couldn't help but touch his nose and said with disdain, "If you knew it would be like this, why did you do it in the first place? All of you, get out of here!" Whoosh! As soon as his voice fell, many cultivators didn't say anything and hurriedly scrambled to escape like birds and beasts. "Young Master Kai, your way of doing things has caused Sanyang to lose a lot of business." Suddenly, Mu Sanyang's charming figure appeared at the end of the corridor. She glanced at the unconscious cultivator and the many cultivators who had left the 100th floor. For a moment, she looked a little helpless. TSK, Ben Shao not F** King Yu is already your biggest gain. You still want to waste a lot of business with Ben Shao. How shameless are you? Wang Kai said with a disdainful expression. Whoosh! Hearing this, Mu Sanyang was furious. From the beginning to the end, she was the one who was at a disadvantage. Now she was the one who gained the upper hand. Young Master Kai, don't make fun of Sanyang. If young Master Kai wants to take away Sanyang's stinky body, just come and take it, Mu Sanyang said with a sorrowful expression. That pitiful look really surprised Wang Kai to the extreme. Shao Chen thought to himself, this woman is not simple. She is charming and cold. Now she can even pretend to be sad. Mu-san, what is your real name? Don't always think about taking advantage of Ben Shao, okay? Wang Kai frowned and said with a look of disgust. Looking at Wang Kai's disdainful look, Mu Sanyang fell into a daze. Previously, he had wanted her so badly that he would die for her. Now, he was even disdainful of her. What kind of weirdo was Wang Kai? Or perhaps, what were they planning? Was he playing hard to get? Humph, do you really think Sanyang is a child? Mu Sanyang despised him in her heart. She thought that he didn't know how to cherish such a good opportunity. Once the opportunity was gone, bastard, why would I have such thoughts? For a moment, Mu Sanyang was furious. She had to admit that women were all like this. When they wanted to get her, they would throw away their face. On the contrary, when they didn't care about her, they would feel very uncomfortable. Some would even get angry on the spot. Young Master Kai, you said you don't want Sanyang. Are you serious? Mu Sanyang pursed her lips. Her beautiful eyes were filled with joy, but there was also a trace of unwillingness. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai was also a little tired. After seeing Mu Sanyang's sister, Mu Wanwan, the little lust in his heart had long disappeared. For his sister, he would rather pay any price. This was what touched and respected Wang Kai. Look at you. Why do you look like you are sad that Ben Shao didn't F***ck you? In that case, Ben Shao will force himself to F***ck you. Sigh, who asked Ben Shao to be so charming? Wang Kai shook his head and sighed again and again. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Whoosh! As soon as these words came out, Mu Sanyang's face turned red. She was extremely embarrassed by Wang Kai's words. Even if she had cultivated for thousands of years and seen countless people and scenes, she couldn't resist Wang Kai's teasing. Young Master Kai, whether you are sincere or not, Sanyang has something to tell you. Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes flashed slightly as she suddenly said in a low voice. There was something? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. For a moment, he didn't know what Mu Sanyang was up to. To be able to establish such a powerful force like the romantic floor, it was impossible for her to not have some ability. If you have something to say, just say it. This young master has always taken care of women 100 times over, especially beautiful women, Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather casual smile. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Hearing this, a strange look flashed across Mu Sanyang's eyes. She pursed her lips and pretended to be sad. Young Master Kai, you only see the glorious side of the romantic floor. You don't know that behind the scenes, we are constantly being oppressed by the domain master of the sixth territory. In the end, Mu Sanyang suddenly paused and looked at Wang Kai with a probing gaze. In response, Wang Kai narrowed his eyes slightly. With his hands behind his back, he said calmly, "You want Ben Shao to help you deal with the domain master of the sixth territory? Is that right?" Whoosh! Seeing Wang Kai being so direct, Mu Sanyang was stunned. She couldn't figure out what Wang Kai was thinking. She was used to fighting and scheming. This was the first time she met someone as direct as Wang Kai. Young Master Kai, Sanyang knows that there is no free lunch in this world. If young Master Kai can help Sanyang, Sanyang is willing to be young Master Kai's exclusive property for the rest of my life. Mu Sanyang suddenly said through gritted teeth. Wang Kai was a little taken aback by the look of determination on his face. "Since you are married to the domain master of the sixth territory, but he has not taken advantage of you until now, this proves that the domain master of the sixth territory is also afraid of you. If that is the case, why do you want Ben Shao to deal with him?" Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and asked with a surprised expression. Whoosh! Hearing this, a cold murderous intent flashed across Mu Sanyang's eyes. Her voice also became cold. "Fear is not an eternal protection," Mu Sanyang said coldly. "Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots? Get rid of all future troubles?" Wang Kai shrugged. He understood what Mu Sanyang meant. She took the initiative to say that she was his exclusive property. This courage. "I'm sorry, but Ben Shao did not mean to do anything to you. He is not in the mood to make you his exclusive property," Wang Kai said indifferently. "She was using him to do her dirty work." This woman was smart, but sometimes she was a little silly. Chapter 699. Young Master Kai Yu, Mu Sanyang was dumbfounded. She thought that Wang Kai was playing hard to get with her. If that was the case, it was understandable that she would take advantage of him. But now, he rejected her so easily. And he didn't even want her when she offered herself to him? Was she really that bad in his eyes? She didn't know that in Wang Kai's eyes, he could get Mu Sanyang whenever he wanted. He didn't do that now because he valued her for protecting her sister. They were neither relatives nor friends. If that was the case, why would he help her deal with the domain leader of the sixth domain? If she was really a direct disciple of the Empyrean Palace, it would be fine. Unfortunately, that was just a bluff. What about me? Ben Shao has always prided himself on being righteous, but he can't be too righteous, can he? There are too many people suffering in this world. Can Ben Shao help them all? Can he help them all? Of course, Ben Shao is a god. He can help them all. Unfortunately, my stomach hurts today. Wang Kai shrugged and spread his hands helplessly. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You have gained 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Stomach hurts? Can't help? Even if he was looking for an excuse, he couldn't come up with it like this. How could he convince her? Mu Sanyang was speechless. But she knew that Wang Kai rejected her so directly to make her give up. She wanted to let Wang Kai get rid of the domain leader of the sixth domain. Then, even if she had to give herself to him, she would grit her teeth and bear with it. Unfortunately, Wang Kai didn't have that intention at all. Mu Sanyang couldn't see through Wang Kai because of his passion before and his indifference now. "Sigh, since young Master Kai is so heartless, there is nothing I can do." Mu Sanyang shook her head and sighed. Her expression was lonely. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched when he saw her charming figure and sorrowful expression. After seeing the sorrowful Saintess Yunxi, Wang Kai was immune to this kind of look. He could only think that she didn't know how to pretend. "Haha, do you have feelings for Ben Shao? Since he was heartless, why talk about being heartless? Also, Ben Shao wants you to do something for him. If you do it well, he can help you. However, Ben Shao can't promise you that he will kill the protectorate master of the sixth domain. Wang Kai shrugged and said calmly. He could help her, but he would never help her get rid of the sixth domain's domain leader. What does young Master Kai want from Third Nyang? Third Nyang's beautiful eyes suddenly lit up, putting on an expression that said she would agree no matter what it was. The corner of Wang Kai's mouth twitched. He was afraid that even if he said he wanted her now, she would nod her head and agree. He wondered what kind of crime the protectorate master of the sixth domain had committed to make Mu Sanyang hold such a grudge. It's simple. Help Ben Shao investigate 2 people. Yes, 2 women. One of them is called Yunxi and the other is called Xia Xinyan. One of them is so sad that it's as if everyone in the world owes her money. Do you understand? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a teasing smile. After leaving the sky-reaching church, he still hadn't caught the 2 girls. Now that he had the help of the lady boss of the romantic floor, he would naturally succeed. Whoosh! However, just when Wang Kai thought that he would have to wait for a while, Mu Sanyang suddenly spoke. The goddess and saintess of the sky-reaching church, right? They are now in the romantic floor. Yes, they are resting in the inn on the 33rd floor. Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light. It was strange. Why did Wang Kai want to find the goddess and saintess of the sky-reaching church? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes. He waved his arm and said heroically, "Well, you did well. Now take Ben Shao to find them. Those 2 bitches took Ben Shao's treasure but didn't give it to Ben Shao. They ran away." Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. They took his treasure but didn't give it to him and ran away? Mu Sanyang was stunned. She had never thought that the goddess and saintess of the sky-reaching church, who had always been pure and clean, would do such a thing. However, no matter whether Wang Kai was telling the truth or not, Mu Sanyang had no scruples now. Even if helping Wang Kai find the guests of the romantic floor was disrespectful to Xia Xinyan and Yunxi, she had no choice but to do so in order to depose the domain leader of the sixth domain. Thinking of this, Mu Sanyang gently nodded. She swayed her slender waist, revealing her charming figure. She took the lead and walked in front of Wang Kai. She smiled and said, "Young Master Kai, follow Sanyang." Seeing this scene, Wang Kai was really speechless. This woman was very sincere. Seeing that he had promised her, she immediately became happy. Such a quick change made Wang Kai doubt whether what she said before was true or not. "This young master has already told you, don't call me Sanyang. Tell me your real name." "Well, if you don't want to, this young master will help you come up with one." Wang Kai shrugged and said with a rather dissatisfied expression. Whoosh! Hearing this, Mu Sanyang's body trembled. She wanted to know what name Wang Kai would give her. "Ha ha, young Master Kai, what name will you give me?" Mu Sanyang covered her face and asked with a smile. Wang Kai frowned and pretended to be deep in thought. His serious expression made Mu Sanyang even more curious. "And let's call him Mu Daza or Mu Big Buttock." "Not bad, not bad." This young master's literary talent is indeed outstanding. Even the name he came up with is so elegant. Wang Kai shook his head and sighed repeatedly. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Mu Daza. Mu Daza, this damned bastard. Mu Sanyang's face and ears flushed red. She couldn't help but feel regretful. She was so happy that she forgot Wang Kai's nature. Asking him to give her a name was just asking for trouble. Young Master Kai's literary talent is extraordinary. However, I have a name. Young Master Kai, please call me Huan. Mu Sanyang pursed her lips and said with a forced smile. Huan? Mu Huan? Wang Kai frowned when he heard this. He waved his hand in disgust and said, "What a lousy name. It's not as good as the one this young master came up with. The difference is like heaven and earth. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You've received 100,000 experience and 100 bragging point. Congratulations to the host for successfully breaking through to the 7th level Heavenly Lord realm. However, Mu Sanyang chose to ignore it. On the 33rd floor, in the inn, Wang Kai followed Mu Sanyang into the inn. Looking at the furnishings and decorations, he touched his nose and smiled. I thought there was something special about this place. It's no different from an ordinary inn. Although Wang Kai had passed through the 33rd floor before, his attention was all on the expert. He didn't pay much attention to it. Now that he saw it, he was surprised. Chapter 700. Please excuse me, young Master Kai. This inn is just a place for cultivators to rest. It doesn't need to be grand or luxurious. After getting Wang Kai's approval, Mu Sanyang was in a good mood. It was as if anything in the world could make her happy. Even when she was talking to Wang Kai, she would throw flirtatious glances at him from time to time. Her charming appearance made Wang Kai secretly grit his teeth. If it weren't for the fact that she treated her sister well, he would have already brought her to justice. Huan if you continue to tease him like this, Ben Shao will really punish you on the spot. Although Ben Shao has always prided himself as a saint, sometimes Ben Shao will turn into a devil. Wang Kai shrugged and sneered with an unfriendly expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Ha ha ha. Mu Sanyang covered her face and laughed coquettishly. She winked even more coquettishly as if she wanted Wang Kai to turn into a devil. Hee, since you have hinted like this, if Ben Shao doesn't deal with you, wouldn't he be letting down the many admirers of Ben Shao in the world? Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and sneered. He immediately stretched out his evil claws. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. And many admirers? Mu Sanyang couldn't help but laugh. She felt that Wang Kai was very interesting. He bragged as if he was telling a joke. Young Master Kai, Sanyang, Lady Boss, the Territorial Lord's envoy has landed and is on his way to Windflower City. Suddenly, before Mu Sanyang could finish her words, a man in a black robe and a mask over his face mysteriously appeared next to her. Hearing his words, Mu Sanyang, who was originally overjoyed, turned cold in an instant. Even her hand that was covering her face froze in place. Domain Lord's emissary? It doesn't matter. Just ignore him. Come, have some fun with Ben Shao. Wang Kai raised his eyebrows slightly. Soon after, he smiled in an unconcerned manner. His outstretched hand did not pause at all. How dare you! When the black-robed man saw this, he shouted angrily and was about to attack Wang Kai. Don't be rude. He is an important guest of mine. Bang! Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, Mu Sanyang frowned and shouted. She raised her jade-like hand and pushed the black-robed man back a few steps. Puff! At the same time, Wang Kai's hand landed precisely on Mu Sanyang's waist and pulled her into his embrace. Young Lord Kai, it seems there's been some trouble. The heavenly martial divine weapons gifted to the domain master have all been stolen by you. Now, he has sent a messenger to denounce you. Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes flashed as she whispered. Whoosh! Seeing this, the black-robed messenger's eyes widened. He could not believe that this man had such an intimate relationship with Mu Sanyang. Even when she was hugged, Mu Sanyang did not show any signs of resistance or disgust. How could this be? Denounce? Whose crime? It's his fortune that Ben Shao did not find trouble with the domain master. Don't worry, just ignore him. Take Ben Shao to Xia Xinyan and Yunxi. After the four of us have some fun, the domain master's messenger will disappear into thin air. Wang Kai sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. But, hearing that ear-piercing and crisp sound, the black-robed man was already stunned on the spot, and his heart was filled with a myriad of cries of regret. Of all people to mess with? Why did he have to provoke Mu Sanyang's little lover? Ha ha ha, you're right. With young Master Kai's ability and status in the Empyrean Palace, isn't it easy for him to destroy anyone? Mu Sanyang covered her face and laughed. Wang Kai and Mu Sanyang's lovey-dovey appearance really shocked the black-robed man. Humph, status in the Empyrean Palace? Ability? I didn't expect the lady boss of the romantic floor to be so ignorant and brainless. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sneer full of sarcasm sounded, causing Mu Sanyang's delicate body to stiffen. Wang Kai also frowned, his eyes full of ridicule as he looked over. On the other side of the corridor stood a beautiful woman in a long white dress. Her peerless face was filled with disdain and mockery at this moment. The goddess of the sky-reaching school, Xia Xinyan. TSK, little Yen Yen, you've made Ben Shao look for you. Come here, let Ben Shao kiss you, pat your butt, and pinch your big white rabbit. Bastard! Wang Kai, you're about to die, and you still don't know it. Before Wang Kai could finish his words, Xia Xinyan angrily rebuked him with a cold face. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't deal with Wang Kai, Xia Xinyan wouldn't have escaped from the sky-reaching school. In fact, no one in the sky-reaching school dared to provoke Wang Kai, and no one dared to do so. Even the position of sect master was his, and the supreme elder was ordered around by him like a servant. If she didn't escape from the sky-reaching school, Xia Xinyan didn't dare to imagine what kind of torture and humiliation she would encounter. About to die? You said Ben Shao is about to die? TSK, you should know Ben Shao's ability better than anyone else. If you say something wrong, you'll have to pay the price. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a playful smile. Xia Xinyan was extremely disdainful. She turned to look at Mu Sanyang, whose face was full of doubt, and sneered. Mu Sanyang, I've heard of your name for a long time. As a woman, you're able to establish such a huge force like the romantic floor. You've earned the admiration of countless women, and I, Xia Xinyan, am one of them. However, after seeing your stupidity, I feel that you're not worthy of your reputation. Not worthy of your reputation. Stupid. Whoosh. Hearing such words, Mu Sanyang's beautiful eyes flashed with anger. She said with a displeased smile, Little sister, you've only cultivated for a little more than 100 years. Although your eyes are beautiful, the things you see are not real. So, don't jump to conclusions too early. Otherwise, as young Master Kai said, you'll have to pay the price. Towards the end, Mu Sanyang's tone had turned cold. The majesty that belonged to a woman of high status unconsciously flowed out. However, Xia Xinyan, the goddess of the Tong body sect, was not intimidated by such an imposing manner. Jump to conclusions? Haha, Mu Sanyang's words are reasonable. However, I'm curious. Wang Kai is just an outer disciple of the Tong Tian sect. He's also an ordinary man who just ascended from the lower world. How did you determine that he's from the Empyrean Palace? You want him to deal with the Domain Lord's envoy first? Don't make a fool of yourself, okay? Whoosh. Hearing Xia Xinyan's words, Mu Sanyang's face suddenly stiffened. Ahem, I haven't talked to you for a long time. Don't doubt me, I've been very strong. It's just that I've been working on my new book, so I've been delayed a little. However, I'll resume my work as soon as possible. Well, the new book will be available soon. Also, the book won't be finished until it reaches 3 million words. Chapter 701. An outer disciple of the sky-reaching school? or an ordinary man who just ascended from the mortal world? How is this possible? Mu Sanyang's mind went blank. Her body stiffened and her face twisted. Sweat beaded on her forehead. She had already bet on Wang Kai. That was why she allowed him to do whatever he wanted to her. But if he was not from the Empyrean Palace, wouldn't her behavior incur the wrath of the domain leader? Even if her three masters could keep the domain leader in check, they would not be able to settle this matter. After all, Mu Sanyang was still the wife of the domain leader in name. TSK. Little Yen, how long has it been since we last met? You've become more quick-witted. Wang Kai shrugged and smiled casually. Wang Kai could guess what Xia Xinyan was trying to do. Firstly, Xia Xinyan did not expect Wang Kai to find her here and hook up with Mu Sanyang. It was impossible for her to escape. In order to protect herself, she had to take the initiative to provoke Mu Sanyang into attacking Wang Kai. If Mu Sanyang had not said that Wang Kai was from the Empyrean Palace, Xia Xinyan would not have stood up so readily. Secondly, even if Mu Sanyang did not believe it, there were still the domain leader's messengers. It would be strange if the domain leader of the sixth domain could tolerate Wang Kai being so close to Mu Sanyang. Young Master Kai Mu Sanyang did not know how to think. For a moment, she had become a simple-minded woman. The impact he received was simply too strong. She went from despair to hope and from hope to despair. Even a strong woman like Mu Sanyang could not accept it. Huan don't you believe in Benshio's noble character? Or do you doubt Benshio's noble character? Wang Kai frowned and shook his head, pretending to be disappointed. Congratulations to the host for bragging successfully. You've gained 100,000 experience and 100 bragging points. Noble character? Noble character? Mu Sanyang really didn't know what these terms had to do with Wang Kai. Unfortunately, they had already come this far, and it was already impossible for them to retreat now. If the domain lord's emissary hadn't arrived yet, he might have been able to use the power of the romantic floor to erase the various matters between him and Wang Kai. But now it was imminent. Since he had gambled on Wang Kai, he couldn't back down now. Either way, he would anger the protectorate master of the sixth domain. He might as well fight to the death. Thinking of this, Mu Sanyang's eyebrows suddenly relaxed. She forced a smile and said, of course I believe in young Master Kai. How can a little girl who has never seen the world and has only cultivated for 100 years be trustworthy? Papa. Hearing this, Wang Kai immediately nodded and smiled in satisfaction. He even raised his hand and patted her buttock. He smiled faintly and said, Not bad, not bad. You have a bright future. Seeing this, Xia Xinyan's pretty face immediately froze. She was originally full of confidence, but now she was in despair and panic. She didn't expect Mu Sanyang to not believe in her, but in Wang Kai, who was full of nonsense. What are you talking about? Don't you see? Huan is Benshio's little cutie, his big baby. How can she believe you? Why don't you check your brain before you speak? Wang Kai shrugged and smiled with a disdainful expression. Whoosh. Hearing this, Mu Sanyang's face flushed red. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. As for Xia Xinyan, she was dumbfounded. She couldn't believe that Wang Kai had established such a close relationship with the lady boss of the romantic floor, Mu Sanyang, not long after he left the sky-reaching church. Could it be that Wang Kai is really from the Empyrean Palace? Otherwise, why would Mu Sanyang treat him like that? Xia Xinyan furrowed her brows as she pondered. If that was the case, wouldn't it prove that Wang Kai was from the Empyrean Palace and had sneaked into the sky-reaching church? However, why would the Empyrean Palace send Wang Kai to sneak into the sky-reaching church? The decline of the sky-reaching church had nothing to do with the Empyrean Palace, right? For a moment, Xia Xinyan thought a lot, but no matter how hard she thought, she couldn't think of a reason. Where's Yunxi? Ask her to come out. Running away without permission is not something a beauty would do. Wang Kai shrugged and said with a casual smile. Running away without permission? If she didn't run away, would she let you take advantage of her? Hearing this, Xia Xinyan was instantly enraged. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent as she stared coldly at Wang Kai. Suddenly, she laughed coldly and said, "The Domain Lord's envoy will arrive at the romantic floor very soon. I really want to know how he will react when he finds out about you." Whoosh. Hearing this, Wang Kai didn't feel anything, but Mu Sanyang's eyes were covered with frost. She sneered and said, "Young Master Kai, this Xia Xinyan is as pure as ice and as pure as jade. She took your treasure but ran away secretly. She's not even as good as a woman in a brothel. At least she knows how to give money and her body." In an instant, Xia Xinyan's face turned cold. She clenched her fists so hard that they turned pale. She bit her red lips so hard that blood appeared. Wait until Yunshi sees the Domain Lord's envoy. I will watch you two being lovey-dovey." Xia Xinyan sneered. Saintess Yunshi went to see the Domain Lord's envoy? Hearing this, Wang Kai's eyes suddenly narrowed. Mu Sanyang couldn't help but tense up. She quickly stepped forward and pushed the door open. However, she found that there was no one in Xia Xinyan and Yunshi's room. How did she leave under my nose? Whoosh. Bang. Suddenly, Mu Sanyang moved and came to Xia Xinyan's side. She grabbed Xia Xinyan's shoulder with her jade-like hand. "Can't you see for yourself?" Xia Xinyan's eyebrows furrowed as she forcefully endured the pain in her shoulder. Her other hand opened up, revealing a black jade tablet within. It was the Sky-Reaching School's Disciples' Communication Jade token. Seeing this, Wang Kai raised his eyebrows. This proved that Yunshi had left the romantic floor long ago. Just now, when Xia Xinyan came out, she had used the Sky-Reaching School's Disciples' Jade token to transmit everything she had said to Saintess Yunshi. In that case, bastard! Men, take her to the divine prison! Suddenly, Mu Sanyang shouted. She flipped her hand and slapped Xia Xinyan's back. Bang! Yes. Xia Xinyan's eyes went blank for a moment. Then, her body fell to the ground. Whoosh! When Wang Kai saw this, he frowned slightly. His body moved, and he pulled Xia Xinyan into his arms. Divine prison? Is it necessary? Benshao hasn't loved her yet. Also, she is Benshao's confidant. You can't treat her like this. Wang Kai narrowed his eyes and said with a teasing smile. Chapter 702. Mu Sanyang, I won't tell anyone about what happened between you and Wang Kai. Buzz. Suddenly, Saintess Yunshi's feeble laughter rang out from the disciple token of the heaven-reaching church. Wang Kai was not surprised. Saintess Yunshi had wanted to contact Mu Sanyang for a long time. She wanted to use her to get her fiancé in the mortal world. Now that the opportunity had come, Saintess Yunshi would not let it go. It was a pity that Xia Xinyan did not get Saintess Yunshi's help even though she had saved her. Wang Kai believed that Saintess Yunshi was not the kind of person who would forsake righteousness for profit. She did this because her obsession was too strong. Oh? I am surprised that Saintess Yunshi is so well-mannered. Tell me, what do you want? Mu Sanyang's eyes twinkled as she smiled. As the lady boss of the romantic floor, she could see that Saintess Yunshi had a motive for doing this. Help me find a man. His name is Zhang Hu. He was born in the Fengyang village in the north of the 6th domain. I have not seen him for 100 years. Mu Sanyang was stunned when she heard Yunshi's voice from the jade token. Seeing this scene, Wang Kai was baffled. That Zhang Hu was just an ordinary man, so why was Mu Sanyang so surprised? I can help you with this. He is still in the Fengyang village. Go and find him, Mu Sanyang said calmly. Whoosh! There was a rush of breathing on the other side of the jade token. Thud! Soon after, the connection with the jade tablet was lost and it fell to the ground. Wang Kai and Mu Sanyang looked at each other. They knew that Saintess Yunxi must have gone to the Fengyang village. He is just an ordinary man. I haven't seen him for 100 years. How can he still be alive? Do ordinary people have such a long lifespan? Wang Kai raised his eyebrows and said speechlessly. Mu Sanyang's eyes flashed. She frowned and said in a low voice, "The man named Zhang who was originally a mortal. But for some reason, he slaughtered the entire village and became a demon. Bedevilment? Whoosh." As soon as she said this, Wang Kai's expression suddenly froze. His expression suddenly changed as he looked at her and said indifferently, "Then why did you tell her? Send her to her death?" "That's right. Dead people are the best choice to keep secrets," Mu Sanyang said frankly with a smile. Hearing this, Wang Kai curled his lips and couldn't help but touch his nose. With a rather playful smile, he said, "That's good too. If Ben Shao takes the opportunity to play the hero and save the beauty, won't her heart be captured?" Only the exceptionally intelligent Ben Shao could come up with such a good plan. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Mu Sanyang was stunned. She never thought that Wang Kai's ultimate goal was to play the hero and save the beauty. Young Master Kai, if she's still alive, don't worry, you didn't lie to her. Zhang Hu is indeed still alive and is in Fengyang village. So, she won't be angry and tell anyone about us. Also, even if the world knows, what can they do? Ben Shao only needs to lift a finger to defeat any enemy. Wang Kai shrugged and sneered with disdain. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Clap clap. You sure talk big. Suddenly, a series of clapping sounds were heard. A middle-aged man in a white robe appeared at the entrance of the 33rd floor. Behind him, there were 10 powerhouses in black robes. There were both men and women, and they entered in a single file. You talk big, but your fists are not small either. If you are not convinced, I can give you a kick. Good poem. Good poem. Wang Kai shrugged his shoulders and smiled with a rather indifferent expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh. Hearing Wang Kai's impromptu poem, everyone's face froze. Especially Mu Sanyang, who stared blankly at Wang Kai. She never thought that Wang Kai could compose a poem, and such a poem at that. It was simply unbearable. I was wondering who would come. So it's the great commander of the city, Luijian. Mu Sanyang covered her face and giggled. She immediately went forward and wrapped her soft arms around Wang Kai's arm. Luijian's face twisted when he saw their lovey-dovey look. Mu Fei, have you thought about the city lord's feelings? Luijian asked in a deep voice. Clang clang. As soon as he finished speaking, the 10 experts behind him all drew their swords and surrounded Wang Kai and Mu Sanyang in the center. Although they didn't release their Dao intent, Wang Kai could still sense it. The cultivation bases of these 10 experts were all at the Heavenly Emperor level. Moreover, Luijian's cultivation base was at the Heavenly Return realm. He wasn't weaker than Mu Sanyang at all. He was also at the peak of the Heavenly Return realm. Luijian, TSK, not bad, it's a good name. It's just that the person looks a little cheap. He's completely not as elegant and upright as Ben Shao. Wang Kai shrugged and laughed with a rather playful expression. Congratulations to the host for successfully bragging. You have received 100,000 experience points and 100 bragging points. Whoosh. The moment these words were spoken, Luijian's brows immediately straightened. His gaze was cold as he stared at Wang Kai. Suddenly, he grinned and sneered. I've heard that you're from the 9 Heavens Palace? You even know this? Are you afraid? Then come over and kneel down. Shout that Benshao is your father, and Benshao will forgive you. Wang Kai curled his lips and sneered disdainfully. However, Mu Sanyang's face was full of coldness. She couldn't help but lower her head and look at the jade pendant. She raised her foot and directly crushed it. Young Master Kai, Sanyang already said that woman is unreliable. Mu Sanyang's eyes were full of anger as she sneered. Wang Kai wasn't surprised by this. Saintess Yunshi didn't fulfill her promise. Instead, after learning of Zhang Hu's whereabouts, she told Luijian everything. From this, it could be seen that Yunshi wasn't far from the romantic floor just now. Haha, Huaner, only you can frame her, but she can't betray you? Wang Kai secretly laughed and shook his head. Mu Sanyang's silver teeth suddenly bit her red lips when she heard this, but she didn't refute this at all. Indeed, she had the heart to harm others, and so did Yunshi. Capture this person and bring him back to the Domain Lord City for the Domain Lord to punish. As for you, Mu Fei, if you obediently return to the Domain Lord, I will also spare you some of your injuries. Luijian said indifferently. Buzz. As soon as his voice fell, the 10 experts from the Domain Lord City simultaneously circulated their Dao Will to cover their swords and attacked Wang Kai from both sides. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.